Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another MTGO Creator Showdown. It's an amazing show where we pit all your favorite content creators head-to-head, battling out for their share of $5,000. And this month, the format is Legacy, and there's only one person in the world I'd want to do this with. It's my good friend. It is Anurag. How are you doing, my friend? Welcome to the MTGO Creator Showdown.
It's a pleasure to be here. I am very excited. Legacy is my favorite format, and this is the hottest month to be playing Legacy with Eternal Weekend right around the corner here in the US. I'm very much looking forward to every single Legacy event that we can watch to get the latest and greatest on how to prepare for the ultimate, the pinnacle Legacy event of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line. This is like a good battlegrounds, but also it's got that extra bit on the side because, like I said, they are battling out for $5,000. You can watch it from their point of view or from our point of view here on the main channel. We've got all your favorite celebs going back to back, trying to get themselves that 6th victory to walk away with a nice cash prize. And let's have a look at what they're battling out for today. Talk me through this, Anu.
Yeah, so you can see here, first place at 6-0 will earn a whopping $1,250. The runner-up will get $750, and anyone who completes with a 5-1 record will receive $600. And then you can see the 4-2 distribution there as well, all totaling up to a $5,000 prize pool, which is absolutely incredible. To be part of. I mean, this kind of high stakes events you don't really get to see very often, and I for one am going to be looking very carefully to see how the players manage like the pressure of the situation, because there's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, but there's a nice chunk of cash on the line. If you were to win this, if you were playing today, caveat, if you was playing today and you had $1,250, what would you buy with that money, my friend?
Oh, that's a good point. It would definitely be something Magic related. I can't tell if it would be like maybe some of the new cards. I know there are a lot of really cool cards from Duskmourn and even the previous set that have made an impact in Legacy, or I might just buy like another piece of coverage equipment for just anything that I might be working. That's a lot of money. You can get a lot of cool stuff with it. We
all knew it'd be some extra cables or some lenses or something. I know you too well. But the good thing, everybody also watching on this stream, if the players are winning, you're winning at home. We have got loads of giveaways today of 120 play points, courtesy of today's sponsor, Daybreak Games. And also on top of that, towards the end of today's show, our other sponsor, Beacon, are going to give you a chance of winning this microphone that you now see on your screen. So maybe you want to get into podcasting, maybe you want to be a content creator, maybe you want to record for YouTube videos. This mic has got some crazy AI in it. It's going to help it out. It's going to solve all those issues that, us old school people had to find out the hard way. But that'll be on the line later on, so make sure you stick around for when we do give that giveaway and make it happen. So, on that one, Anu, that's the giveaways. Me and you, back in the booth. They can't separate us, but it's with your format, so I'm going to start getting your opinion on different things. We have got a meta in Legacy. Every single format has a meta. This particular is nothing like nothing else. This one's pretty powerful at times, and there's some decks really overperforming right now over than others. Let's have a look at the top 5 kind of archetypes floating around at the minute. Talk me through these left to right, my friend. Yeah,
so left to right, we're going to start with Nadu. This is probably your go-to fair/combo deck where you have, like a band type strategy. Sometimes you might even pair it with something like Cephalid, Illusionist, or Shuko. But the idea is, just like in Modern and in other formats, you're combining Nadu with either Sylvan Safekeeper or Nomad Encores to just get a lot of permanents into play, a lot of lands, cards drawn into hand, and then eventually you win with something like a Thassa's Oracle, or just, maybe like Bristly as the win condition. The next step is the Stompy deck. So this is Mono Red Stompy, which actually won the Eternal Weekend Asia event here. And I love, shout out to Pyroglyph. This is such a cool card. If you look at Mono Red Stompy through the ages, you'll notice back when they used to play like Thundermaw Regent, and now they've upgraded to cards like the One Ring and Pyroglyph. This deck is absolutely terrifying. Built off the backbone of Ancient Tomb into a very fast 3-drop like Blood Moon or Broadside Bombardier is another new card. The best deck in the format is going to be, without a doubt, Blue-Black Reanimator. This is a deck that, a couple of months ago with the release of Modern Horizons 3 and the onset of Psychic Frog, we're seeing it paired alongside Grief for a very, very powerful Reanimator strategy that had an incredible backup plan in the form of Psychic Frog. Grief has since been banned, but this deck still exists just due to the strength of cards like Atraxa and Psychic Frog. So this is the deck to definitely keep your eye on, not only today, but just, over the course of the next few weeks leading up into Eternal Weekend. The scariest aggro deck in the format has returned, but in a different way. Many years ago, you might remember Thought-Knot Seer and Reality Smasher as the 1-2 punch for Eldrazi aggro. Well, with Modern Horizons 3, the deck is actually back, but in a very different shade. It's got Sowing Mycospawn as one of the key cards of the deck, combined with your overall prison-type strategy with cards like Chalice of the Void. You're really just trying to stop your opponent from playing Magic while presenting scary threats like Devourer of Destiny. That'll close the game pretty quickly. And lastly, we have Blue-Black Tempo, which is, an iteration of the Blue-Black Reanimator deck where players were like, hey, I just found out that most of the time I was winning my games through a fair game plan, so why don't I lean heavier on the Psychic Frog and play more value cards like Tameo and Orcish Bowmasters, those kinds of tools, while also even main decking Nile Spellbombs. This is like going to be the go-to, quote-unquote, fair deck of the format, but I promise you, some of the cards that they're playing, they're not very fair at all.
I don't want to see fair in this format. I want to see broken and busted. And this is the breakdown of what everybody brought playing today in today's tournament. So let's talk through this. Most played deck that I play is the Mono Red Stompy deck, which is always in that deck, in my mind, that it's kind of easier to pick up. Maybe this isn't your format because we've got a lot of content creators that do a lot of different formats. Jumping into Legacy, some of them are going to be experts, some are going to be first time, some are going to be here, for the fun. And if you haven't picked this format, this is one of the easier decks to kind of learn. It's big mana, Blood Moon people out, get your big threats on the table, turn them sideways, as well as the fact that it's just won the last Eternal Weekend, as you were speaking about. Do you think that's the reason, or is there a reason I've missed why we see Mono Red Stompy being the top deck bought this weekend?
I'm also going to give credit where it's due. This deck just has like raw sheer power.
True.
Like I mentioned, we've sort of like evolved in the types of cards that we're playing, and now it just feels like we have so many good options to play that we get to pick and choose where we want to be. With the onset of Broadside Bombardiers and the One Ring and Pyrogoyf, like you have a very, very decent amount of just quality spells in your deck. We're not even playing cards like Karn anymore or Chandra Torch of Defiance. We just have, very aggressive creatures. Even Fable, that's another great card that's made its way into this deck. It's just really strong deck overall.
True. Right, I'm going to start a giveaway because we can, because I'm allowed to. Type the word Stompy in chat because that is the most played deck today. So we've got that Blue-Black Reanimator. I would have thought pit money on this was going to be the most played deck this weekend. This is the one I see a lot of people have been talking about over the past couple of months. Obviously, it's got some new toys. It's just got some even more new toys, realistically, which we might be seeing. And overall, it just does everything it wants to do on the tin, right? I want to do a bit of a counter magic. I want to play Psychic Frog. I want to be reanimating big things back from the grave. It's got a lot of different ways that it can attack from and defend from. Would you agree on that, or do you think that this is kind of a bit now on a decline? It's been in the format for so long, people are working out ways to fight against it.
I think part of the reason that this deck is considered the best deck in the format is that it is extremely resilient to all sorts of angles of attack. If, for example, somebody does board in Surgical Extraction and then you have something like Psychic Frog as a backup plan, you're very ahead anyways, so it's really hard to just take that deck down.
True that, and I think we're going to see when I go back to the other side. I want to talk about at least the top three. Thank you very much. Nope, one more. That is the top five. Nadu, okay. Do I really want to talk about Nadu more? Let's be honest. We've kind of had our fill of that for a little while, but now we're seeing it prop up in Legacy. That also shows how powerful it was in Modern before it got banned. Is it more the same? I'm guessing this just gets a load more tools and a cleaner mana base.
Yeah, I think that's basically it, right? Like, you are functionally doing the exact same thing you would expect in Modern, but when you get to play cards like Nomad Encores, which, lets you draw, like, at least 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on your turn, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on your opponent's turn, like, it can get out of hand very quickly. I think the ceiling on this deck has, jumped up exponentially moving into Legacy, but also just the floor. It's a lot more consistent, and that makes it a real contender in this format currently.
Okay, well, I'm getting word in my ear that they are ready to start. So when they're ready, we're going to move straight down there. I'm having a look on that right-hand side quickly, and I see someone bought Infect this weekend. There is one content creator who is my hero today that I'm hoping can take it down. But is there anything surprising that you would expect to see a lot more of as we move down to the match where it looks like we've got Reduke versus Control Freak?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Painter is another archetype that I'd like to see or expected to see more of going into today. But again, this is a depth deck that just everyone like you played if you're really good with it. It's kind of those decks that are harder to pick up side of things.
Okay, interesting. Well, it looks like we've got Psychic Frog on the stack. Force of Will, ditching. Didn't see what blue card it was, but blue card, 1 life point lost. Is this worth fighting over? How important is this Frog, especially when you've got a second one in hand?
Yeah, I mean, Psychic Frog is easily one of the ways that you can snowball games out of control. I think if you don't have a removal spell lined up for it, you absolutely do need to answer that card, otherwise it will take over the game. Also, the fact that it's just like a discard outlet for your creatures like Atraxa, which you can then reanimate back later, is just, it makes it the perfect card to slot in this deck.
Right, I'm having a little look at the list. So this isn't an exact mirror. The card combinations are the same, but it looks like you've got Control Freak top of your screen. That is the more like tempo-orientated one. We've got some Tamios, Orcus Bowmasters, and Murktides floating around it. Where Reed at the bottom of our screen, he's just classic reanimate. We've got the Archons going on, Trolls of Khazad Dunes, and of course Atrax, as we can see one in hand now, as we see Control Freak trying to play his own Psychic Frog. And it resolves. Why do you think Reed's letting that resolve?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting situation here. I mean, there's also the idea of I have my Psychic Frog and it's going to act as a way to mitigate your Psychic Frog. Like, imagine if we just both discard our entire hands, whose Psychic Frog is going to reign supreme. So in a weird way, Psychic Frog can be a blocker, or removal spell, weird way to call it, but for the opponent's Psychic Frog. So just, it's like a little bit of a mind battle here going on.
Also, the fact that we let it come down means now we can have a little war over it. Now we're going to see Gaze return in that Underground Sea. Reed doesn't have the extra land, or if we didn't play it first. Is this worth 2 more cards from our hand? One of them is going to have to probably be Brainstorm. Maybe we can get rid of the Atrax now, though, because we've got that in too.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting here. I mean, the other thought process here is that, like, I don't really care if you draw cards because I'll also be drawing cards. So maybe the best way to answer a Frog is to just keep up in parity with your own Frog. In this situation, I'm not the biggest fan of fighting over this days here, and looks like Reed actually agrees here. You could put Atraxa into the bin off the Frog if you resolve it, but you've got Brainstorm and Entomb, so you're not really looking for ways to enable your graveyard. I think the Force of Will is much better kept in hand as a way to handle, you know, something scary like a Reanimate or a different threat here.
Actually, look, did they play Reanimate? No, there's no Reanimates over in Control Freak's list. Did your double fail push when the Daze was able to deal with the Psychic Frog, but that's 2 answers potentially that we've drawn for them. I'm having a little look. Is there anything else that it can actually hit? Basically, we fought over Psychic Frog and we drew the 2 answers to Psychic Frog. And those fatal pushes don't hit anything else in Reed's deck, so gonna be interesting. But here comes another one. Straight off the top. Bird Psychic Frog. Have you got a favorite art of Psychic Frog?
I go for old border original art on everything that I possibly can. It's objectively correct. I will not be answering questions at this time.
Awkward. Okay, I like the full art, but it is what it is. It's short. I do like. It was a toss up when I was deciding which art I want to go for. If I want to go for the one that Control Freak's got, or the full boarded. But this is the second time Psychic Frog gets to connect the Control Freak here. That's 2 extra cards in the grip. Not hitting our land drops, but that Brainstorm that we've got in hand might be apparent. But we're just gonna pass the turn.
Yeah, and really interesting observation here. And just to clarify, by the way, Control Freak is actually playing the blue-black tempo variant, so more like blue-black Frog. So this deck actually doesn't play cards like Reanimate or Entomb, and instead tries to create like that value-based game plan off of cards like Tameo Frog and what other spells they might have. That being said, now that Frog has connected twice, I would argue that this game is maybe not close to over, but it certainly is looking grim for Reed. His best way back into the game is going to have to be with some sort of Hail Mary into Atraxa kind of deal. And it looks like that's probably what he's setting up for, although the Brainstorm didn't find a way to reanimate the Atraxa, and that's kind of a big deal here.
Talk to me about this. So, I'm just a big dumb modern player. That is my format. That's why I like playing. We just crack our fetch lands and get our shock lands, our surveil lands at willy-nilly. Very different in Legacy. Like, every fetch land has a purpose, especially in decks that contain Brainstorm.
Yeah, absolutely, right? When you don't have to, deal with the cost of 2 life, you get a lot more flexibility of when and how and why you fetch. But the biggest deal here is that fetches are generally used to maximize your selection. So when you pair it alongside cards like Brainstorm or maybe even like Ponder, right? You don't want the second or third card. You can shuffle them away with the fetch land here. This is it's like Legacy 101 where you want to use your fetch land as optimally as possible. Now, with the onset of cards like Leyline Binding, there are certain decks that may have to fetch end step to get triumphs and things like that, but that is more often than not the exception rather than the rule.
Looks like we're about to have a fight here. We've got Shooter's Edict on the stack, trying to get rid of that Murktide. Days from Reed returning the Seas. Days fight back, returning the Seas on the other side. Now, is this worth Force of Will worthy? It doesn't feel it to me, but...
I honestly think if you force here, you have nothing left in your hand, so it can be very, very scary if it fails. But I personally probably would have forced there just to keep the Murktide around because we've got no other way to really handle the Psychic Frog. Oh, and that's a cool one off the top.
I was about to say, is Kaito, is that a Legacy staple, this powerful 4-drop?
It's funny because I was actually watching McWinsauce on Magic Online, who is an absolute killer in the challenges and prelims, and he actually had a recent 5.0 that had 2 copies of the Ninjutsu Planeswalker, although this time I guess it's just going straight to the bin for a +1/+1 counter.
It's a straight up +1, especially after we've had Days twice now by returning land, so we are putting ourselves slightly behind. Yes, we've got this tempo advantage. Yes, we're gaining the card advantage here, but we need to kind of try and stay on top of that. And this Psychic Frog is doing a great job of chipping away each turn while filling our hand with pretty good cards. As I speak about pretty good cards, Reed finds that fatal push.
And that's a big deal. This is going to be the first step to sort of clawing back into the game here. I mean, the Psychic Frog is already connected like 3 times, 4 times maybe. That's a lot of card advantage. And Reed certainly is on the back pedal. So, like, these are the first steps for there to be a chance at a game here for Reed.
So, like, it looks like Reed's kind of behind here. Might lose a bit of land now as well. But... do we have to Brainstorm, find a Reanimate, Entomb? Obviously, our life total is getting a little low now, so that might, that the longer we wait, the more that can get turned off. What's like the most powerful big turn that we can set up with the cards he's got, and potentially one more card deeper?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be Entomb into dumping an Atraxa or Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard and bringing that back. If Murktide Regent comes into play, depending on how big it gets, it's probably going to be an 8/8, right? So it can actually trade with something like an Atraxa. I would probably go for the Archon here then, just to have something that stabilizes the board, but then also generates some advantage a little bit more slowly than Atraxa, but still gets you back in the game. Plus, I'm not even sure the best ways for this blue-black tempo deck to even get rid of an onboard Archon, especially with the Shieldred's Edict already gone. You'd have to go through some like giga hoops, like down taking a Tamiyo that's flipped to buy back the Shieldred's Edict. In fact, I'm not seeing another answer to it. So I'd almost... oh, Brazen Bar. There's also a Brazen Bar. Yeah. Yeah,
2 Brazen Barrows in the main deck here for Control Freak at the top of your screen. We've got Brainstorm with Brainstorm in response for Reed. Okay, I'm going to ask you again. Your favorite art on Brainstorm? Bear in mind, you own one of the very exclusive art of Brainstorm.
Yeah, okay, I know I said like OG old border, but it's definitely, for me, the sweet spot is the Mercadian Masks art. The foiling on Mercadian Mask cards is absolutely gorgeous. Oh,
it's beautiful. Those and the daisies, like, absolutely amazing. I remember my friend was doing a Chaos draft, and like back then in those boosters, the foil could be anywhere in the pack. And like he's like sliding past the pack, looking at what the rare is, and just sliding past this. Like at the time, it was like $100 rare or whatever it was. It was like, oh, I should probably just take this instead because there wasn't much on the line in this Chaos draft. Anyway, back to the matchup. Looks like Brainstorm has resolved for Reed's going to keep that land and Thoughtseize in hand along with the Entomb. Hit the other 2 cards back. Obviously, can shuffle them away with the Entomb if it does resolve. But Tamiyo is going to flip because we drew more than 3 cards in our turn. Now, Tamiyo in itself, that card can be scary now. It's a Planeswalker.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, you have the ability to just ultimate with Tamiyo in the course of a couple turns, and that is a game-winning ultimate. In Legacy, when you just have the most interactive spells, also, at like the lowest CMCs possibly available to you in Magic, it's very hard to lose with Tamiyo that has ulted. That being said, also though, in this matchup, depending on the state of the game, the down tick on Tamiyo to just buy back a card from your grave.
He drew it. He entombed with Wasteland on the stack, put the Archon in the graveyard, can Thoughtseize to make sure the coast is clear, and then can animate dead that Archon of Cruelty, which will get rid of the Tamiyo on the other side, as well as drawing him a card, making Control Freak discard, and a little, Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix effect as well. That is a great top deck for Reduke.
Yeah, I mean, he's not one of the best in the game of all time for no reason, right? He clearly set himself up for this plan, which was like, all right, I need that Hail Mary. I have to set up my graveyard. If my opponent draws into a Nile Spellbomb, so be it. But this is my out. I'm playing towards it, and then he gets rewarded, and that's just good gameplay right there.
That is Reduke 101. Right, now let's talk about this Thoughtseize. Which one of these 4 cards do you not want Control Freak to have?
So, Murktide Regent doesn't really matter. We've got Archon of Cruelty we can attack, and we'll take care of it. Orcish Bowmasters is kind of annoying, but also not that big of a deal when you have an Archon gaining life and dealing a lot of damage. Weirdly enough, I feel like the Brainstorm or the Ponder, they could represent anything, right? Like, if our eyes are on the 2 interactive cards that remain in the deck, which is Brazen Borrower, in my opinion, I would try to stop any chance of accessing that, but looks like Reed disagrees, takes the Murktide Regent, which is, reasonable if you get enough creatures on the board. Maybe the Archon actually just can't attack too well, and could get tricky there, yeah.
I'm going to rewind us back about 3 or 4 minutes when it looked absolutely like Control Freak was in control of this game and was going to run away with it, and Reed had to get this, line everything up perfectly for it to happen. It looks like that is exactly what is happening here, as now there's no Tamiyo. Reed with this 5/6 Archon on the board, a Control Freak drawing that fatal push. Not too happy about it, but maybe this Ponder can help find us one of our Brazen Burrows. What would we need? Land Brazen Burrower? Can we take a hit?
Something like that. We can. Drawing the Forest there for Reed is really, really good. And I want to go back to that decision to take the Murktide off of the Thoughtseize. I think thinking about it a little bit more, the justification for that is you're going to kill your opponent in 2 combat steps. If they're, fumbling around with Brainstorm and Ponder and they don't hit, it's a significant mana tax in this exact game state where it's like 50% of their mana has to go towards casting cantrips. Like, that's not a winning recipe. That's a big commitment. And you're also drawing cool cards off of the Archon too that can sort of cause your opponent to stumble even further. So one more attack and Reed is going to come back with this insane reverse Uno situation after having been hit by a Psychic Frog like 4 times.
It's just these. Oh, it's a Brazen Burrow off the top.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, gentlemen, calm down. Oh, so we got to do this in upkeep, so minimize the amount of chance that Reed's got to draw an extra card or a counter spell. Here comes the Petty Theft side, so return target non-land opponent to his own hand. That's going to be the Archon, and Dead's going to fall off. We've still got a game.
This is absolutely crazy. And also just weird things that I'm noticing here too, like the Metamorphosis Fanatic was drawn right after the Fatal Push off of the Archon, which is totally unfortunate. But Ponder is going on the stack now, and I think Reed is just looking for ideally it's like a Brainstorm to fix this hand. Reanimate also kind of good.
What targets we've got? I see Psychic Frogs and did we cycle a troll? No, we picked the troll back, didn't we? I think it's just Psychic Frogs. We could get our own Tamiyo. We could get a Murktide, which doesn't really do too much here. It'd just be a free.
Psychic Frog's pretty good here. You could discard the Archon, discard the Metamorphosis Fanatic for potential top decks. Actually, it's probably lethal next turn, right? You just buy back the Frog, draw a card for turn, discard your whole hand. GG's.
Yeah, that'd be exactly 6. For that, pick Control Freak top of our screen in a must-answer scenario. And we've seen 3 fatal pushes, I want to say. Maybe 2 fatal pushes. Yeah. Well, those 3 Psychic Frogs got into the graveyard somehow. When you know that there's a Brainstorm in hand. Reed is a genius. He's so good at Magic. It hurts.
Yeah. The Thoughtseize from turns ago sort of informed Reed that there's the Brainstorm and the Ponder, so this was known information, and I like that he's choosing to punish here rather than, this is not good.
So we can Brazen Borrow our own Orchestra Bowmaster back to our hand. Do we have to Fatal Push it in response?
I think we do.
We're hovering over it.
This is great. This is why I love Legacy so much. You get into these sort of game states where it's just like drawing interaction into interaction into interaction, and then this is like a fencing battle that you're watching going on here, right? Like, Reed's like, I know your hand, I'm going to attack it. Massive top deck here with the second Brazen Borrow, which also, by the way, gets countered since the Bowmaster got pushed. There's no legal target for it. But now it's just the slow, limited grind. My creature comes in the red zone and hits you for 1.
This is what I'm used to seeing in Legacy back in the day. Like everyone like kind of posturing for position, and just at the end of the day, it just happens to be a 1/1 token or an Lano Elf or something that gets the job done. But let's start off. Let's see if we can find anything on Control Freak's side. Ponder is where we're going to start. Look at the top 3 cards of our library, put them back in any order, and then you may shuffle, and then you can draw a card. Question: is this card too powerful for Modern?
Ooh. I cannot answer that without being very biased. No, the actual answer is yes. It's a very powerful card. I already feel like Preordain is like the perfect level for current day Modern. Ponder plus Preordain, because it's not just like solo. You have to evaluate it in the context of everything that's going on. It's certainly a lot.
Well, Control Freak found one of the 2 main deck copies of Nile Spellbomb, so that can potentially help us for any more crazy reanimate effects going on, but we do need to find an answer to this 1/1 token, because it's just going to get the job done in 3 turns.
Yeah, and notably there's a Brazen Borrower in exile, but that cannot block the token, so tick-tock goes the clock, and...
Ooh! Okay.
That's great.
Talk to me about this card, one of the newer cards that we now see in these reanimate decks.
Yeah, so Metamorphosis Fanatic recently released in, I think it's like the Dustmourn Commander set. This is a new Miracle-style card, bless my heart, that synergizes very well in these blue-black Reanimator-type strategies. You put a 4/4 into play, it has lifelink, it brings back something like maybe a Troll of Khazad-dûm that you swamp cycled earlier, puts a lifelink counter on that. It is a tremendous amount of power and toughness, a lot of tempo shifting going on with the resolution of that card, but then also... in this exact board state, right, where you have cards like Nile Spellbomb that are currently being main decked in this metagame, great way to sort of circumvent any of that sort of graveyard hate, because it's just a 4/4 creature that is powerful.
Just a 4/4 creature for 2 mana that's lifelink that returns something crazy from our graveyard. Do we fight over this with our Force of Will? Do we exile the graveyard with it on the stack with the Nile Spellbomb, or do we do a mix of both?
This is a really tough call here. I'm almost wondering if we could have... Well, the problem with cycling the Nile Spellbomb for the Fanatic target something is that Reed could have like a leftover Entomb and put something in the graveyard and then get something back, so you kind of have to wait until this exact scenario. I probably would have forced it, because how else are we supposed to answer a 4/4 with both of our Brazen Borrowers gone? We have to draw like exactly Murktide Regent or something.
That's what I'm thinking. Like how do I deal with it once it hits the board? Like, if you've got this plus that, sure, I'm just going to lose anyway. But if I can fight it, but then we would be on a top deck battle. Underground Sea is what we see on top of our deck. We're going to have to go digging with this Brainstorm. Brainstorm finds Ponder, Polluted Delta, and another Force of Will. That Ponder is our saving grace. It's going to have to find something good.
Yeah, I don't know if we had a... Did we have a land drop? We did, right?
We do have a land drop to hit. We can still draw a Murktide. Frog does it. That is a blocker.
Yes, not one that we are happy to block with in this instance, because we can only make it a 2/3, which is, less than a 4/4.
Not good enough, and gives, Reed a lot of live draws. Troll of Khazad-dûm, that does put another creature in our graveyard, plus be able to give us a 6th land if we want to cast another later on. Frog is going to block,
you are legally allowed to hard cast the Metamorphosis Fanatic as well, which is 4 black, and that would put back 2 creatures into play, which probably is, you probably can't come back from that if that actually happens. So this is the last turn that Control Freak has to draw something meaningful, and even then, I don't even know if it's going to be good enough.
Well, and the Underground Sea is not going to do it. It would be the 5th land for Counterspell. We cannot deal with that powerful 4/4 on the battlefield. So we get to look at their decks now. We get to have a little look at what's going on. So I've got it up in front of me here. Let's have a little go over. Let's start with Control Freak side because they are a game down. Toxic Deluge, probably not. No Rod, don't like that either. Shoot the Sheriff. How are you thinking about that one?
I think this is pretty good. I mean, I feel like the way these matchups boil down is you'll have a lot of like game one plans like Entomb Reanimate or maybe like Tameo and Flip. And then what ends up happening is once the dust settles, there's like Psychic Frogs left over. And Shoot the Sheriff is just really good in general in these situations because, you know, Psychic Frog is such a big deal. You have to have an answer for it, you know?
Surgical. We're playing against a graveyard deck. So is this Surgical going to be good, or is this just the most over sideboarded card in history?
I don't think it's actually that over sideboarded. I could see bringing in the one copy. What really matters here is how Control Freak thinks Reed is going to play, because it's like this mirror match is like onions. There are layers to it, right? On one hand, like Reed could continue to go with this reanimate strategy with a turn one Entomb or something, but also we've seen a lot of sideboard strategies where you actually board out the Entomb, understanding that it is a liability. You know, there are Nile spell bombs, there's surgicals, cages everywhere, and then you just play like a fair plan with reanimate as a buy something back kind of card. You don't really care what it is, you're just happy to get that value, and that's where Surgical Extraction could get a little bit bad. I think in the dark though, I'd have to see it before I believed it. So I'd probably bring in the Surgical Extraction so as not to have to deal with problematic reanimates.
And if it's a dead card, you've always got Psychic Frogs, you can just ditch it, right? It's a plus or plus account at the end of the day. Graph Digger's Cage.
Same story here, but I'm a little bit happier to put the Cage in because Cage is a permanent solution to something like Entomb Reanimate, where a Surgical, if my opponent draws a second Entomb and then do a second Reanimate, Surgical Extractions can only get rid of the one Attract, or only get rid of the one Archon. Cage is like, the door is shut here, now play Fair Magic, please.
Please. All right, Hydroing of the Sea, don't think we need that one. Hydroblast. Force Negations, Consigned to Memory, anything there? Maybe the Forces, or?
You could consider the Force here. One thing that's a little bit troublesome, so this is why I think, by the way, the Blue-Black Reanimator deck is terrifying, is it just does both halves very well. It can either combo you out or it can play a fair game. So you kind of have to just like flip a coin and figure out, how do I want to attack this? Force Negation, great against the combo side of things. Not so good against the Psychic Frog side of things, where you're staring down a frog that's just attacking you. So I think bits and pieces of each might not be a bad idea.
Well, we're going to find out along with everybody at home as we get to look at the opening hands here. Control Freak, one game down at the top of your screen because everybody wants to get to that 6th win today as we are in round number 3. Doesn't like that hands, is going to throw it back. It looks like we're on Reed's side. Reed might be keeping just a one-lander here. A lot of strain on that Ponder.
Yeah, I don't feel like cantrips necessarily always get attacked, but then also you do have the Troll of Khazad-dûm as that second mana source, so your mana is generally safe here. The question is how does the rest of the hand function? And the Fatal Pushes are good for extending the game, the Thoughtseize is good interaction, and the Animate Dead is your true win condition, which if you ideally you would bring back something like a Nile spell, not a Nile spell bomb, an Atraxa or a Archon, but you're happy to get back like a Troll should it come to it, because Troll is also kind of hard to answer in this matchup.
Reed's just drawing to be absolutely wasteland proof currently. So it has the option here of starting off with the island or the swamp. Goes with the swamp. I like that because it could be a turn 2 Psychic Frog or something comes down. Because we've got these pushes, we can try and gain a little bit of tempo advantage that way. Just on time, Control Freak does able to draw the black source. I imagine that's going to go maybe a C here. It is open deck list. Reed doesn't have any wastelands, I don't believe. Let me have a little look, see. No wastelands, because this deck's kind of greedy, right? Like it's got its game plan. It doesn't really care about trying to stop you doing yours.
Yeah, it's a pretty proactive deck that really just kills you on turn 2 kind of deal most of the time, at which point wasteland really isn't in the cards for it. So yeah, it could just fetch something like
Entomb.
Undergrounds here, something that should be safe. Entomb is pretty good as well.
So we're going to fire off that C that we just got off the Troll. We decided to pass the turn with Orcish Bowmaster up instead of Psychic Frog. Reasons?
Maybe hoping to just generate some value off the Orcish Bowmaster, punish a Ponder or a Brainstorm or something like that. But, 2 mana, pass the turn kind of deal. Reed can he can smell it, and so he's putting the Thoughtseize on the stack, and I like this a lot. The thing is that there's going to be so much good stuff to get rid of that even if Bowmasters does land, you'll still find a way to navigate through the game, which is exactly what's going to happen here. So now instead of maybe playing the Ponder this turn, Rita's very clear direction. We're going to Fatal Push this Orcish Bowmasters while also getting to clear the way of something like a Daze or a Force or something like that. That might try to interact against the Fatal Push.
Yeah, just leaving Control Freak of this Fatal Push. It's not ideal, as we mentioned. It's only got 4 targets in the whole deck, and that is our own Psychic Frogs. It's now where there's a Wasteland coming down, but had to play the land first to potentially play round Dazes. I know there's some talk about with Dazes Force of Will decks on cutting the numbers depending on the play or the draw. Just refresh my my non-legacy brain. If I'm on the play, do I keep my Dazes in or my Forces in, or both?
That is, I'm actually gonna say it depends, which is not a great answer most of the time, but really it's like that heuristic is pretty. When I first started playing Legacy, it was a nice heuristic to sort of like figure myself out and how to sort of play the cards, get a feel for them. But nowadays, I would say it's like definitely think about more in terms of what your opponent's mana curve is like, what your mana curve is like. Realistically speaking, you might see something more along the lines of like -1 days, maybe keep all the forces in, or like shaving rather than actually keeping entire playsets on the player draw. And just to double down on that a little bit further too, I think Legacy has evolved as a format where a lot of these threats are actually just so terrifying, right? Like imagine if your opponent gets a Psychic Frog, you kind of have to have Force almost all the time as a last-ditch effort or a last-ditch answer to the cards. So it's weird. That heuristic is certainly something to think about, but there are a lot of other factors that I would say to consider as well.
I think that was just the way that was. That looks like that we decided not to shuffle off the Ponder, so we drew the Polluted Delta, the second one. Means that we've got 2 cards on top that we potentially like. As Tamiyo is found here from Control Freak. The start with a little bit of chip damage though. Get that Orcamas token turned sideways, dropping me down to 15. Follow up, Tamiyo, Wasteland, hold up, Fatal Push. But like that's it. Reed knows all the cards in your hand now.
Yeah.
Oh no, he doesn't know about the Wasteland. That's the one card he doesn't know about. So we're keeping it in hand. I actually really like this. Maybe potentially Reed goes and gets another jewel or something like that. And we can deal with it, but if it's on the battlefield, Reed might go fetch up a basic. How basics does Reed run?
This is great, by the way. Metamorphosis Fanatic off the top here. This is why we kept off the Ponder.
Oh, beautiful. So now this is going to force us with the Nile Spellbomb to crack it, but still, there's a 6 mana 4/4 with lifelink on the battlefield. Fail Push doesn't do anything against it. We're down to our 3 outers because even the sideboard, which there's a Dark Betrayal in the sideboard for what I've got here.
Dark Betrayal is one of those hotter pieces of tech.
I was looking at Reed's side. I'm stupid. It's like Shoot the Sheriff. So Shoot the Sheriff might have come in. That's another answer. And maybe a Borrow Goyf can get us back in if that even came in out the sideboard. I love the amount of it's not Goyfs. What are they called? Lure Goyfs or creature types that there are in Legacy. Can we get a Goyf tribal? Is that going to be a thing?
I mean, you have Tarmogoyf's Nest, you have Pyrogoyf. Like, I could definitely see some sort of like type of archetype coming together here. Pyrogoyf is really scary. I'm just putting this out there to the whoever needs to hear it. That card is terrifying.
Testing for this event this weekend, I picked up the mono red Stompy deck and had a little run around with that. Being able to Fable copying the Pyrogoyf is beautiful. It's like copy it, shoot you, attack you, shoot you. It was great. And also the more copies, the more triggers you get. I agree with you. That card is extremely scary.
That's a pretty twisted version of beautiful, but you know what? Eye of the beholder. I'm not gonna say more than that. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to Metamorphosis Fanatic. This is part of the reason why this card is doing so well in this deck. There was a Nile Spellbomb in play. I talked about how, Grafdigger's Cage is kind of better than Nile Spellbomb because it permanently shuts off all types of reanimation, but Nile Spellbomb is kind of like that one and done sort of deal. And you can see here with the Metamorphosis Fanatic, we were able to use a single card to force the Nile Spellbomb activation, and now we're able to use our backup Entomb, our backup Animate Dead. We're going to play around this Daze. Atrax is going to come to play, and this is lights out. Reed, this is walking through a park at this point. Reed's going to pretty handily close this game out.
Yeah, like there's just Control Freak's deck's not set up to be on the back foot here. Like this is just not ideal. We want to be starting off the game early. We want to be getting down a Tamiyo into a Psychic Frog, keeping them around with our counter magic, and really riding them to victory. We didn't really get a chance to do that in this game too. But Reed's, this as you were saying, the Fanatic forced the hand. Now we can deploy a second threat and Tomb, a Traxxer.
I'll say one more thing. Massive punish here for not playing the Wasteland. There's an ancient tech and legacy when you have Daze and Wasteland together, and very specifically your opponent has a fetch where you can force the Wasteland to kill the fetch. They're going to sack the fetch, but then you see Reed would have had no mana to pay for the Daze, so by not playing the Wasteland there, I understand the logic, right? Maybe I'm going to brainstorm it back, but now we lost a little bit of Daze equity, and I think that might have been... Well, in fact, it definitely was critical in preventing this Atraxa from coming into play, giving us more draw steps and things like that. So very small thing, very hard to really see, but that's why Legacy is so beautiful, is because it's a very nuanced format.
Yeah, that's something that I would pick up on straight away. You know what I mean? That's something that you need to get the reps in the format. And I think the later these rounds go throughout today, you're going to start seeing more of the legacy players in the tournament, opposed to some players that are focusing on standard at the minute because the RTs and stuff coming up. But then this is why we love Magic. You get everybody can play what they want when they want, and kind of see these nice little intricacies and learn as we go along. Because that's why they got me in the booth with you, because this is your format, my friend. And I don't know if you like it, but you seem to enjoy this format pretty much.
Oh, it's great. I'll tell you that much.
There's a lack of 4-color control decks. That's all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? We need those miracle decks floating around. But
I would honestly say yes, we could use more 4-color control decks, but really, I cannot wish ill upon anyone like that, because right now that deck is not that good. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. That deck is not that good. I just play it because you can't teach new tricks to an old dog, so I'm just I'll play it. But I think this blue-black archetype, both of them are just so powerful. It's disgusting watching this, being able to attract set just at a moment's notice. I guarantee you Control Freak probably thought that they were safe with the Nile Spellbomb, but then look at how Reed over time was able to dismantle it and still execute on that primary strategy.
No, the game's just over. Look at this. This is just an absolute masterclass. There is only 3 cards in the deck that can kill one of these creatures, and if you kill one of them, the other 2 are going to get there anyway. And if we need to, we've got Backup, Reanimate, Psychic Frog, and Ponder. Let's have a look what we got on top. Another failed push. Doesn't have any targets here. This is going to be a right-click concede, I think, here for Control Freak, and Reed is going to scoop this one up in advance to a 3-0 record, which means he is going to be 1 away from getting himself into the prizes. So congratulations to Mr. Reed Duke, as we're going to head back here to the booth and see if we can get another maybe feature match for you beautiful people watching at home. I'm going to remind you, there is a giveaway happening right now. Type the word Stompy in chat to be in a chance to win 120 play points as we break this one down now. So we've been speaking, this blue-black deck. There's 2 different variants of it. I even actually, last night, was watching a video about Doomsday now playing kind of a fair package with a Doomsday package, because they're like, well, Psychic Frog's really good, and so is this, and so is Murktide. Let's just play these 2 cards in our deck, so we need to know which way we need to, turn and... Are we just seeing these cards go into anything that has Underground Season, or is there a chance that it's going to get, an old Hammer's going to come out soon? What's your thoughts on it?
Unfortunately, you decided to bring all the Doomsday players into the mix here, and I have to say, I say this with love, but they are some sickos. They will put anything and everything into their Doomsday decks. I've seen, Shieldred, Barrogoyf, they love playing their creatures. That being said, though, I think Psychic Frog is just that powerful, where it makes sense. You're already on color here, you might as well play it. It forces the situation. There are some weird theoretical questions you might ask, hey, I'm turning on my opponent's fatal pushes and things like that. Is that actually worth the power level? But they've seemed to have concluded yes. So I'm not shocked to see the frog basically everywhere. Now, in terms of that other question you're asking, I don't know. On one hand, yes, Frog is really good, but I feel like Frog is also only really good in the context of certain decks and strategies. Okay. I'm not attached to the card. It's pretty new, so I personally wouldn't mind if I never Frogged again in Legacy. Generally speaking, there's a lot of history where specifically card advantage at the 2-mana slot has caused problems in Legacy. So I'm curious to see what the overall patterns are. I think Eternal Weekend later this year, and both in NA and EU, will give us a lot of information and insight.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, it's kind of got a tiger on its back, but it's still, Fatal Push still deals with it. It still dies to so much removal. It still can be countered. It is a very powerful card. I'm not taking anything away from it. The card is pretty crazy. But let's talk about some other strategies that we might see throughout today, or moving forward in the future. Instead of Eternal Weekend, let's go back to this mono red Stompy deck that was able to take down the last Eternal Weekend, and how that card can be extremely crazy. Doesn't matter. We've got a game we're going into. Let's have a little look what we got going on here. Let's break this down, Anu.
Yeah, perfect. Looks like we have known Death and Taxes Apprentice of Mine, XJ Cloud, battling with, that's a joke, by the way, red, white, you're supposed to laugh. Battling with a new take, not a new take, but an updated take on a splash variant of Death and Taxes. That's red, white. He likes to call it Exploding Kittens, because we're playing Broadside Bombardier, and we're also playing the new Modern Horizons 3 cat, a Johnny Nakatl Pariah, battling against Terabad, who is, a Worlds competitor, a Worlds, I think, top 4 competitor. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but very talented player, battling with blue-black as well. And I've had the pleasure of talking extensively with XJ about this deck and this matchup, and I'll tell you, it is certainly very, very close here. Very tricky, just in the sense of you need to So let me actually first figure out whether Terabad's playing the Reanimator list or whether Terabad's playing the other list.
They're playing the Reanimate list.
They are? Okay, yeah. So then this is less of a good matchup here for the Death and Taxes side of things, because, the turn 1 Reanimate, the turn 1 Entomb into Reanimate package is actually really scary for Death and Taxes. You're less worried about cards like Orcish Bowmaster, Psychic Frog, all these sort of things, because you have just oodles and noodles of removal in your deck. That being said, Frog is one of those cards that can just take over a game out of nowhere, so, you're always trying to stop that from happening, but it's really that reanimation package that's terrifying. And so, looks like we're just into the part of the game where XJ has survived through the first few turns of, the dodging the reanimation stuff, and now needs to stabilize the board, but then also needs to find a way to prevent future reanimation strategies or reanimation cards from popping off. I will say one thing. There is a Lion Sash in the graveyard that is very critical, and I think there's also a Containment Priest in the graveyard as well. Both of these cards are very good at stopping... Oh, and there's the Ghost Vacuum. This is exactly what he wants.
Ghost Vacuum. I want to shout out that Sword to Plowshare. Never seen that art before. It looks great. Little mouse on it. That Archon of Cruelty, that's one of the new ones that's just been that's been printed. That was discarded with the Psychic Frog before the Swords resolved. But now Ghost Vacuum's coming up. They're seeing this played more and more around different formats, because this, it comes back as a 1/1, sure, but all these are ETB effects. If we can get to 6 mana, this is going to be a great card to potentially flip later on and maybe win this match. As we've got Terabad at top of our screen, coming down to 4 minutes left on the clock now.
Yeah, it's certainly tricky here. The other thing about Ghost Vacuum that's really good is I don't think there is actually repeatable, targeted graveyard hate at the 1 mana slot, which is why we're seeing Ghost Vacuum in so many different decks. I think the next best option might be
scoop it up.
Unlicensors. Yeah, there you go. This is it, the 1-2 punch, right? You shut down the reanimation strategy with cards like Ghost Vacuum. Even with the Lion Sash and the Containment Priest in the graveyard, you do have access to cards like Pre-War Formulaware, which is now available to play on Magic Online. Very powerful at, let's say my creature gets countered. Okay, I can tutor it up with Stoneforge Mystic and then put it into play and, get Lion Sash back, activate my Lion Sash at instant speed if I need to. Really, really cool set of cards here. It is a matchup where you're kind of holding your breath for a little bit, but you'll see naturally with all of the tools and the sideboard package too that's targeting blue-black. It's a matchup that you're okay with at the end of the day. Maybe not looking to play 15 times against in a big event.
I was about to say, is this like a sleeper deck? Is this what we could expect? Maybe people building to go towards like a Eternal Weekend, let's say, because it's off radar, but it's going to have like a good matchup or at least a good package that we can board into against those decks and potentially start getting our W's that way?
It's tricky. I think D&T is the deck that you will play if you are looking to just actually play like lots of like interactive Magic. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of decisions you have to make. I think that's like the one deck that really encompasses all sorts of elements of Magic and, you know, jam packs it into a single game. I don't necessarily know if I would say to expect like 1 million copies in the top 8. But it does have tools against everything, and that's what's important. I think the most veteran Death and Taxes players will certainly know how to, you know, get themselves out of the most complicated situations, or even preempt those situations and successfully navigate to winning.
I just wanted to get you to say something nice about Death and Taxes, you know, verbally out loud.
I have a lot of... I spent... Okay, this is why. I have spent 9 hours listening and learning about Death and Taxes in recent, and I feel like I'm a master now. I am the master now. It's incredible how much I've actually... I think I've spent more time looking at Death and Taxes this month in my entire life, which is actually crazy.
Did you lose a bet?
Actually kind of... No, it's just like trying to create some educational content, and it's like it's actually really, really interesting. The deck there's a lot of work and effort that's gone into it. I'm saying too many nice things about this archetype. So
I just want to, you know, people can clip this and use it to the end of time. It's going to be great. But what we are going to look at is we're going to look at the top 3 cards of our content creators that brought this week to you know, the showdown. And I think, not surprising anybody here, they're all blue. And they're all pretty good staples of the format. So let's just try and break it down. Like, why is... I'm going to start with Ponder because I think we know why Force will. But why is Ponder still, you know, such a played card? Is it just the second best cantrip in Magic the Gathering?
Bluntly speaking, yes. I mean, I'm going to package Brainstorm with the Ponder here. I think part of the reason that a lot of people are attracted to Legacy is that it is like iconically the Brainstorm format. There's no other format really where you can play 4 copies of Brainstorm, and I'm pretty sure there's no other format where well, that's not true. I guess Pauper technically exists, but you get what I'm saying. The thing about these cards is that they really just give you options, and I think the players who are really looking to play, you know, Magic, they want to leverage as many options as possible, analyze and understand all the different ways you can play out a certain game. Brainstorm is one of those cards. Ponder is one of those cards that really just gives you access to everything, like, you know, or, you know, mostly everything. Just gives you a lot of decisions and really like rewards you for playing good Magic, simply put. Okay, is that the same with Brainstorm? Are we just putting them both in the same category here? Or absolutely. I mean, Brainstorm is also just iconically good because it like in a lot of ways it can be Ancestral Recall. You draw 3 fresh cards, you put your 2 worst cards back, you shuffle away with something like a fetch land, and then, you know, you've completely fixed your hand. But I think more often than not, it's really just going to be like, these are the cards that let you play Magic. They let you be adaptive, flexible, and also just play powerful cards alongside to sort of get yourself out of any situation or win games that, you know, like you normally would. And lastly, we'll finish up on Force of Will. I know why it's, you know, plays so much, but is it the rule of thumb, if you are playing blue cards in your deck, you will always have 4 Force of Wills? I'm not going to say yes, because there are blue decks that have existed in the past that don't play for Force of Will, but realistically speaking, 99.999% of blue decks that you see will have Force of Will in them. This card is just too important at, you know, dictating how games play out, whether it's stopping an opponent's threat that you otherwise didn't have an answer to, or whether it's pushing forward, you know, your Psychic Frogs or things like that. Plus, I would also say, like, with the power level of cards injected into the Legacy format over time, the need for something like Force of Will has gone up, right? You have to answer that Frog on 2 or that Tameo on 1. You have to answer Reanimate. You have to sometimes be, you want to answer like a Swords to Plowshares that's, you know, thwarting your strategy in some capacity or other. Like, you just... There are too many situations where you want Force of Will. Heck, even like stopping a Blood Moon that stops you from playing the game, right? Like, Force of Will, general utility of an answer, and the downside of losing that card has been mitigated by, a lot of the recent card advantage options that we've seen in the format.
Do you think that warps the format too much, or do you think it's a need in the format? We need to have a card like that in the format so these other decks don't go completely crazy. There has to be something to try and keep them in check. Or does it also enable the craziness too much? Because now I can do the crazy with some sort of protection.
Yeah, I feel like the very last thing you said, happens sometimes, but not enough for me to be worried about it. I think just given the amount of scary stuff in Magic the Gathering, like, it is a good failsafe with a very reasonable cost. Let's say, like, I'm playing against Stompy, which, I've typed Stompy in the chat. You enter the giveaway here. Sorry, while doing your job. But yeah, you can force something like a Broadside Bombardier, which is a very terrifying threat, and you're down a card. So what happens the next time they play that, if you don't have an answer yet, you haven't like drawn into it or built your deck properly or anything like that, if you force again, now you're down 2 cards and you're very low on resources. How are you supposed to win the game? So it's actually like a reasonable cost here. The problem is like, it's hard to say, like, how much you'll actually need it. Really depends on the texture of each metagame. And for example, if cards like Psychic Frog exist that are warping the metagame, like maybe it's just absolutely necessary to have Forcible in most of your decks.
All right, fair one. Well, on that one, this is the end of round number 3, which means we need to pick a winner of our giveaway that's happening right now. Type the word Stompy in chat for being a chance to win 120 play points. A new carry down from 3 to 1 in your best Atraxa voice.
Oh my god, I don't
want
think
you
I've
to try
ever...
to speak.
All right.
Phyrexian backwards. Let's go. Just try it. Try your best. No one's going to judge.
I'm sorry. I panicked.
We did not rehearse this, ladies and gentlemen. We did not rehearse this, but I'm all here for it. Someone clip it. Just clip it, and it'll work. I'm going to pick the winner. We're going to go to a break. That's the winner. If you see your name, slide into my DMs. I'll make sure you get that ring. We're going to head out of here. We'll be back for round 4 shortly. Don't go anywhere. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MTGO Creator Showdown. My name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as the Will Hall EXP, and I'm joined by my good friend and legacy expert, Anzed MTG. How you doing, my friend?
We just watched some pretty exciting magic with, maybe one of the best players we'll ever get to see, Reed Duke, and watching him play out game one from what seemed like an unwinnable situation, having an epic comeback and then closing out the match in a very dominant game number two was, I guess, nothing short for this literal, Pro Tour World Champion.
Yeah, he is one of the best, and he showed us why. It doesn't matter what format it is, on what platform, he is a killer at it. And we've got more of that coming up as well, because this is going to be round number 4. But before we get into it, we need to start a giveaway, because there's going to be lots of them throughout the show today. I've given you a lot of play points that I can give away, as well as we've got a microphone of our courtesy of our sponsor, Beacon. Don't type it yet, but any budding content creators out there, podcasts, etc. If you need a good mic, they are going to hook you up with it. It's going to look like this. It's got LEDs. That means it's going to be great, but it's also got that crazy AI technology in there as well. So if you want to be in a chance of that, make sure you're hanging around to later on at the end of this show when we start giving that. Start that giveaway. Right now, I need a word. What word shall we have for this round's giveaway of play points?
How about Forge?
Ooh, I love it. That's on topic as well. So let me type Forge out. So, bam. Type Forge in the chat to be in a chance of 120 play points, because we might be seeing a Forge this round in our main feature match. But before we get to that, before we get down to the players, let's have a refresh of what the metagame looks like. We had the 5 top decks, then we had a breakdown of what everybody brought into this tournament. So we're going to skip through the top 5 decks. We've been over that. Let's have a look at what everybody brought. And we spoke about the top 5, so let's work our way down a little bit more. I think we got to the mono green cloud posts. Haven't seen this in a hot topic. This was kind of a while ago. I was playing... what was I playing? Titan with Cloud Post to try and gain big mana that way. Are we still on that game plan, or has this deck completely evolved since then?
I would say that it has completely evolved since then, and that is thanks to a new card that has come out. That card is Planar Nexus, so I don't know if you've had the chance to read that, but basically Planar Nexus is a land that says it is every non-basic land type. So the non-basic land types, they include Cave, Desert, Gate, Lair, Locust, and this might close your ears as I say this, but it also includes Mine, Power Plant, Sphere, Tower, and Urzas. So the idea behind Planar Nexus is it allows you to pair it alongside Urza's. I'll never get this one right. What is it? Which is the one that makes 3 of them? Is it the 3 mana? Is it Mine or is it Power Plant?
It's Tower.
It's Tower. I had one job, and I okay. All right, I had one job.
I thought you made me say it as well. That's just like a kick. Yeah.
But it combines with Urza's Tower to generate 4 mana as fast as turn 2. 4 mana is a critical point in Legacy because it gives you access either to things like the One Ring or Karn, or if you have something like Candelabra, you can even untap your Urza's Tower and then get 6 mana, which just lets you do a lot of crazy stuff. Basically, the deck has accelerated from going like tap land into here's 4 mana on turn 2. We're actually going to play at a much faster pace, which is, honestly, for a deck like Cloud Post, which I have never. It's been the Miracle Slayer for all this time, so I've always been like, It's really cool to see it get a meaningful upgrade.
Well, the next one we've got on there is the Mystic Forge combo, which sets us up nicely for this round. We've got none other than Cherry X-Man playing this Forge combo deck. So let's have a look, see if we can get it on the screen and have a break down the cards, because of course this is an open deck list for all of today's competition players. You can watch it from their end because they are all streaming on their relevant platforms as well. That could be TikTok, that could be YouTube, or it could be on Twitch. But if you want to see it from our side, you want to stay here. This is where the giveaways are, ladies and gentlemen. You want to stay here. We'll keep you comfy. Don't you worry. Oh, it looks like they've already started. We're not going to get a chance to look at the game. We're going to go straight down to the match. So now let's talk about this Forge combo. What is it?
Yeah, so this deck is there's about some scary words here, but this is a one ring combo deck. So the idea here is to get the one ring into play and then use one of your 8 keys, whether it's Voltaic key or Manifold key, to untap the one ring, tap the one ring, draw some cards, untap it again, draw some cards, untap it again, draw some cards. You see the pattern here, right? Eventually you will draw your whole deck. Eventually you'll be able to put a card as scary as Paradox Engine into play, and then you go infinite. You leverage some of the Modern Horizons 3 cards like Glaring Fleshraker as a win condition that deals damage every time you play something like a key or a 0 mana artifact, and you even have Karn as your backup win condition too. So it's a very, very powerful deck because it goes fast and it leverages Vexing Bauble as a way to fight through counter magic.
I've just had a little look at the sideboard. Microsys Lattice. Oh no.
Yeah, modern players will remember that one.
Oh no. Okay, let's have a look at this opening hand, because you said we needed a key, and we've got monoliths. Are we going to see a bunch of... It doesn't look like we can do too much of it right now, but this looks like we can potentially empty a lot of our hand right now.
Yeah, we can definitely play the Fleshraker on turn 1. Fleshraker also is actually just really terrifying in this deck, because everything procs it, makes mana, deals damage. Like it is one of the other cards that has really pushed this from a 6 or 7 to an 8, 9, maybe even maybe not a 10. We'll reserve that for the Psychic Frog decks.
But all right, cool. Well, Cherry Axeman is a fellow countryman of myself, but up against Claudio, which is going to be on the blue-black. We're going to say tempo, because it's not got the reanimate package in it. It is just, it is Tamios, Psychic Frogs, try and get a big Murktide down, a couple of Orcish Bowmasters in there, and basically cantrips and kill spells are the rest of the package. We're going to try and get on the front foot and stay on the front foot. What do we lead off with here?
This is tricky because it's kind of a gamble, right? Like, you kind of want to wasteland the City of Traders here to turn off the Grim Monolith from untapping. The downside is that if Cherry has a single mana source, like this Urza's Saga so conveniently, you're just going to get to keep going and going and going and going. And now, you don't have a route to your powerful turn 2 mana play. And at this point, I think with double Fleshraker now in play, this might be lights out here for Claudio as fast as turn number 2. No, yeah, go ahead.
So this Fleshraker, 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, create a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn token. It has sacrifice, add 1 colorless mana. Whenever a colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So basically, every spell now is going to have a shock attached to it, as well as these 2/2 beaters. Yeah,
and there's another card in play that also synergizes well with the Glaring Fleshraker, and that is Urza Saga. When you make those constructs, those are colorless creatures. They come into play. Each of those Fleshrakers are going to ping Claudio for 1 damage each, while also putting just really chunky creatures into play.
And right on time, we draw the City of Traders off the top. Are we just going to make the token now? Yeah, we are. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Fatal push on the other side. Doesn't look like they got it. 2 more damage going to you. Turn these sideways. That's going to drop them down to 5. The fetch will be to 4, which is basically lethal next turn. The Psychic Frog is not going to get us out of this.
Yeah, and here it's really hard to say. I mean, I think the reality is that the opening hand that Claudio had was just not very good. I think this is a matchup you treat it almost like Black-Red Reanimator, which is like they will do scary things on turn 1, and you need to have an answer for it. Otherwise, you will get run over, like we're seeing here with such a dominating board presence. Brainstorm not going to provide too much help, and we're rushing off to game number 2.
Yeah, that was extremely quick. Is that like? Did we see like the nut straw there from Cherry, or? Is that like a typical turn for this deck?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have the hallmark with the 1 ring in play, so I think this was just like these are my cards, they work really well together, they put a lot of power and toughness into play, deal with it, and no answer from Claudio. Just completely let Cherry solitaire, and that's that.
I love seeing those cards to me are just like draft chaff from MH3, like no one really plays them, they just go there in the pile. But in Legacy there, it absolutely was shine out. It literally won the game for him. If we've got deck lists, let's see if we can get some of the deck lists up on the screen of both of these 2 players. We're going to start over on Cherry's side. So access to a lot, 15 cards in the sideboard. Most of them are one-ofs, besides the Leyline of the Void and the Contortion. Other than that, I don't think you touch any of this, right? That's why we've got a Karn, because we want them in our sideboard. We want to go find which card we need at what perfect point. would we bring in the ley lines here? Would you bring in the contortions?
I don't think I would bring the ley line here. We're not really worried about reanimate, especially this being open decklist. You know that the coast is clear. The contortions are kind of interesting. Like, it's good against something like, potential Tamiyo. The problem with like Frog, and this is kind of also why we saw like Lightning Bolt decks sort of cycle out of favor, is that you could just discard 2 cards to make the Frog survive. So it's kind of iffy here. I'll trust the expert on this one, whether it comes in or not, but I could just see submitting the same 60 and moving along.
That was with great speed that we went to game number 2. Does look like out of the sideboard, we've got this Harbinger of the Seas. Now, if there's a card I've lost to more than any in MH3, it's probably this card, locking me out the game, because I'm like, I've got red mana, it's fine. Oh, no, I don't. That's not how this card works. It's the alternate Magus of the Moon, turning everything into islands.
Yeah, otherwise, lovingly known as the Flood Moon. Harbinger of the Seas is a very nice way for blue decks to sort of punish opponents' manas. In fact, in my 4-color strategy, I may or may not have 3 copies in the sideboard.
You are a nasty man. Nasty, nasty, nasty. We're going to start off, though, with a Tamiyo, one of the good ones. And look, right on cue, as we were talking about, this is the card it's coming in for. Turn 1 Tamiyo. Well, we've got an Ancient Tomb. It's going to generate us 2 mana, of course. For this Contortion, that is going to get this Tamiyo off the board, unless you want to fire off this Daze. We don't want to do that.
I really like this. I really like letting the Spatial Contortion resolve, kind of realizing that Tamiyo is not where I want to be here in this matchup. The cards that I'm really scared about are like cards like Karn, the One Ring, things like that, and I'd rather save my Daze for that. And this Thoughtseize is going to absolutely showcase one of the weaknesses of the Mystic Forge deck, which is that it's a very synergistic deck, and if you push one domino out of place, it's possible the whole operation just crumbles, right? So looking pretty good here for Claudio.
We kept a hand of double Wasteland as well, plus Daze, plus the Harbinger, and Cherry decides to not even play out this situation because it hasn't really got a good line with it. It's going to try and draw it into another land. Maybe we'll see the city as a 2nd or 3rd, but kind of disciplined here, not playing that out. I think a lot of less of players play with with the reps of this deck would have just played the city out there and potentially got punished with a Wasteland, or just drawing that extra land drop that they are going to inevitably need to play. But we're getting into dire situations right now where it could just be this One Ring or bust.
Yeah, and for that reason, I think you could afford to take 1 turn off of not playing the City of Traders. But now it's just with the Psychic Frog also in play, you're kind of just priced into this line right here, and this is not that great of a line. I'm going to keep it very honest with you. We just talked about this interaction where you could just discard a bunch of cards, but also like the Daze is there too. You could just counter the Spatial Contortion, and Claudio continues to pull ahead here.
Oof. Silent Memory found. That's basically a 1-mana counter spell to everything. Wasteland is going to take out the other land. The Cherry with 0 permanence right now. Does draw another city off the top though. We're going to use that to play 2 keys. Kind of set up if we do end up drawing it into one of our big mana artifacts that can start gaining us a bunch of mana in 1 turn. I'm going to remind myself which ones they're going to be. Basically all the monoliths.
Yeah. And in this situation, I think the Consigned to Memory might be like the kiss of death here for Cherry, because Vexing Bauble is the primary anti counter magic choice. We've seen cards like Defense Grid in the past, but Vexing Bauble just being 1 mana, it also cycles if you have duplicates. Like it's actually just a really, really good card. And Consigned to Memory just doesn't care about that. Consign says, hey, like, not only am I a 1-mana counterspell, I can also replicate. I can even also stifle the Vexing Bauble trigger that stops Force of Wills. I do it all. This Consigned to Memory might be like one of the best sideboard cards printed in recent history, if not the best.
We're seeing some players play it in the main over in Modern at the minute. I want to talk about just about that last turn there. I know it was kind of, we skipped for both players, but decided not to play our 3rd land for the turn because we've got something like Brainstorm in hand plus Fetch land. Talk to me through like how that interaction and why that's like so key and relevant in Legacy, where opposed to Modern, I'm trying to hit my land drop every turn. Yeah,
so in Legacy, there are 2 things to think about. The first is going to be Brainstorm. Sometimes cards that are not so great, you want to put them back in the deck and exchange them with a card like Brainstorm for something that's higher quality. This happens very frequently. You just have to be very cognizant of how much mana you actually need. Also the supporting fact for this is that when you look at the mana curves in Legacy, they're so low to the ground. Days cost 0, Brainstorm costs 1. You know, if I had to check the average CMC of this deck, I'm gonna guess it's low. It's very low. It's like yeah, it's 1 point something, which is remarkable. And in that case, you know, you don't actually need all these lands in play. You're not casting 5-drops, so why not just switch it out for another piece of interaction using a card as powerful as Brainstorm? The other option, the other thing to think about here is, you know, you also have Psychic Frog, and that is a +1/+1 counter that you could put on Psychic Frog too, so not playing it, very heads up.
And just being able to play Tameo, instantly flip it into a Planeswalker. Super powerful, we know that. We're going to tick it up to start off with, but as you mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, if this ultimate, it's basically ultimate win the game.
Yeah, I think there are a few situations where a Tamiya Ultimate can lose, and that is mostly when, like, your opponent is not playing spells, where they're using triggered abilities or activated abilities, but even then, you've got Consigned to Memory to sort of cover up shore up some of those interactions. So really, it's just hard to lose. So in that situation, right, with the early Wasteland, the Thoughtseize, packing all sorts of disruption, having Psychic Frog as the premier threat, really just sort of took what Cherry was trying to do, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash can.
Oh yeah, like, and it looked like it was easy, in easy fashion, you know what I mean, with the Thoughtseize, the double Wasteland, then the Daze is just being so effective, being able to get double, you mean hard cast Daze there for the concession. That's how much of a lead we had. We could have had the Consign, we had the Force, everything Cherry wanted to do, could not do it, needs to have that early explosive draw, and is now going to be on the play, so looks like we've got a keep on both sides, and we've got double Bauble like you were speaking about.
Yeah, and I think this is something also very important to understand, right? Is that you look at the delta between Game 1 and Game 2. Game 1, Claudia didn't really keep any interaction. Game 2, Claudia had all the interaction. And do you see how it was kind of just like riding a bike with trainer wheels in that second instance? And so I think going into Game 3, we're going to see Claudio keeps Force, keeps the Consigned Memory, has double Wasteland, is looking pretty good here in terms of slowing down the game, but Cherry's got some tools with the Grim Monolith and a second Urza Saga even.
Well, we can, like, if we don't fire off this Wasteland here, we could go Tomb into Monolith into Ring. Not that I'm saying anything that would actually resolve, and it looks like we are just going to play our Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn, leaving up this Consigned Memory, and of course not the Force of Will anymore. That is turned off because of the Vexing Bauble. And Cherry just going to pass the turn here, going to see if we can get some constructs going.
Yeah, love this punish here by Cherry saying, hey, you're trying to interact with me on the stack. Let's play a game that, you know, doesn't put spells on the stack. Here's a construct, and then I'm going to make another construct, and then slowly I'm going to chip away at your life total, and then I'm going to start deploying cards that you have to deal with, like my Grim Monolith that generates me mana, or my One Ring that ends the game. And this is great. I mean, this is just like no real better way to put it, but this is like Magic 101, right? Put the threat into play and then start to, you know, forcing other sorts of exchanges, and things are looking good for Cherry.
They are looking good right now for Cherry Axeman on top of our screen. Grim Monolith is going to come down here. I think we will be firing off this Consigned Memory, stopping that from coming down, advancing the mana over on Cherry's side. Going to follow up with a Vexing Bauble because we've got an extra mana. Why not use it? Make this construct be 3/3. Turn it sideways. Drop Claudia down to 16. Psychic Frog off the top.
I don't know if we have the luxury of playing the Psychic Frog in this instance, because the Urza Saga is pretty scary, and we're just so behind in mana development thanks to the Wasteland. This is the power of something like Ancient Tomb, right? It seems to... I mean, it's the most remarkable thing. Being able to double up on your mana with a single land drop has been timelessly good in this format, and we're going to see it's so good, in fact, that I wouldn't be shocked if we actually ended up wastelanding it. Oh my goodness, but Cherry has the punish here with the City of Traitors!
But it drew the power off the top as well, so now we can... Oh no! It gets countered!
Yikes! Yikes! Yep, that's one of the downsides.
I would have fell into that trap as well. I got really excited there as well, but here we are. We're going to make a construct anyway. It's going to be a 4/4. Now we've got a pair of 4/4s on the battlefield. They will be 5/5s next turn, potentially 6/6s next turn. And are we able to fight back from this? Underground Seas. Psychic Frog. 5 cards in hand. So we can make this a 6/7, which I think is a blockable creature. But we'll find out, as that's a Mystic Forge off the top.
But I think in this instance, now Cherry sees that the shields are down. There's no consign to memory. I have not but 1, but 2 Vexing Baubles in play. And it's time to maybe... Now we can actually get the Lotus Petal off of the Urza Saga, and we'll have 4 mana exactly. Oh, but we made the construct. Oh,
yeah, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose the Saga this turn. So now, what do we want to go with? It looks we're hovering over a Mox Opal, maybe a key.
That's interesting. Okay, we have the decision to either play the One Ring this turn or make another construct here. It looks like Cherry is saying, "Hey, beat this," and
we got a block.
Yeah.
Are we ditching the whole hand?
Oh, so we're seeing it.
The whole hand is gonna get ditched. We're gonna take one of these constructs off the battlefield, dropping them down to 5/5. But we will be taking 6 damage here. This does keep us alive.
Yep.
And
so
the 6.
There are ways for Cherry to win through this.
By playing any artifact.
Yeah, that's the... Well, these are 5/5s right now, right?
Yeah, but any artifact makes them a 6/6, and you just attack with both.
Oh, that's 6. I missed that. Yeah, I'm silly. Okay. Yeah, and then we have the rings in hand, the Mystic Forge as well, so we should be able to lock this one up very handily.
As long as we don't skip to our attack phase or something crazy like that. But here comes Mystic Forge. Is artifact, which is going to help grow these to a 6/6. Nothing in hand, nothing to do with the tokens. I think we're just we're typing out the consent, and then we are going to see Cherry Axeman taking this down and advancing to 4-0. And in the prizes, just how big is that prize going to be? That is what we need to find out. So congrats to him. Claudius, put up a good fight. Not out of it yet. This is a double elimination tournament. So once you get that second loss, got to come back next month. While you've only got that one, you're still in it for the prizes. And if you've got no losses whatsoever, well, you're going to be today's champion. We're going to be quite far away from that right now because, spoiler for anyone who's not keeping up on it, our 2-time champion, Todd Anderson, picked up a loss today. So he's not going to be the 3-peat. He's going to have to sit with a 2-peat. What a loser. As if you can't win it back-to-back 3 times in a row. I need to ask you a question here while we remind everybody about the giveaway. So Forge. Type Forge in the chat, 120 play points. And this is a big question. It's going to be controversial as well. I hope you're ready for it. White-bordered cards. There's a lot of them have just been influxed into Magic. A lot of them are in staple cards in Magic now. You could have a white-bordered Wasteland. Are we a yay or a nay? And this is to you, chat, as well. Let me see the yeses or the nos. Are we in favor of white-bordered cards or are we not? Where are we sitting with them?
The only white border cards that I would be comfortable with are in decks that are fully white border. So I'm talking like Rodney Bedell style, Jordan Isaka style. Like those are the only style, like, Max Creaney as well, right? Wonder Pro. Like if your whole deck is white bordered, I allow it. It resolves on the stack. But if you're coming out of here with one of those new, mystery booster wastelands or something like that, put it back in the booster and return and refund.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to head down to our backup feature match now, where it looks like we've got Lucas versus Tony. This is the mono red Stompy deck that we've been speaking about, and it looks like I don't even know what we're up against. This is just an Eldrazi deck side, one on the other side. Is this Eldrazi versus mono red Stompy? I'm going to try and get the deck list up.
Is iconically known for playing the Epic Gamble, which is a variation of the Epic Storm, in that it is a mono red Storm deck. I remember the days when Tony used to be a counterbalance Stifle gamer, but has now, fleshed into this second chapter, and it's great. Tony has completely taken various Storm archetypes and combo archetypes and really brought them to the forefront. Whether it is this Epic Gamble deck, or even the blue PO deck that he has been working a lot on. And looks like we're getting a look at hands here, and this is brutal. There's a Disruptor Flute that has named Gamble, which means that Gamble now will cost a total of 4 mana, but then Sowing Micah Spawn coming into play is going to be able to get rid of the last land that Tony has.
Yeah, this is. It looks to me like Tony's gone off, but didn't get there, and now over on Lucas's side, we're able to just kind of keep deploying our threats, keep dealing with all the mana on the other side, and lock Tony out of the game.
Yeah, Tony does have 3 cards in hand, so it's possible we could do something crazy like Lion's Eye Diamond, into Echo of Eons.
How many cards does it need? What's the finisher in this deck? Is it Grape Shot or is it something completely different and I'm miles off?
Grape Shot is a reasonable thing that you could tutor for from the sideboard. I'm trying to see if there's there's also Tendrils of Agony, which you can actually end up casting off of something like Metamorphose, which I'm trying to see if that's in the deck.
I'm having a look at the deck itself.
You got like Lotus Petals and things like that too. It's fine. You'll find a way to cast that. It's okay. But yeah, the problem here is that despite being a Storm deck, like you actually do need a sizable amount of mana, and having no lands in play is not a great start here. So
yeah, not ideal at all. I'm trying to get confirmation if this is game 2 or game 3. Tony's probably hoping that this is a game 2, so we'll have another chance in game 3 to kind of fight back from here. If they are already up 1 game.
From what I can gather, is game 2 Tony is down a game.
How do you know that?
Well, the good thing about the Magic Online Creator Showdown 5K is that every single player here is streaming today, so I've just hopped over to Tony's chat to see his POV. In fact, what I'll do here is I'll tell you the cards in Tony's hand. He's got a Jeska's Will, another Defense Grid, and a Simeon Spirit Guide. So, with the Chalice in play now on 0, it's not looking too hot here. I don't know if there's actually a way for Tony to really get back into this game.
I don't know if you could plug more things in one sentence than you did just then. That was masterful, my friend. You're like, well, you're watching from their point of view. On this one, this is the hand. It's beautiful to see it. But it is looking a bit lights out-ish here. But we're just adding more threats to the battlefield. If we get this another micro spawn onto the battlefield, that's another 3/3, which is going to go 2-up, another land for us. And of course, we've got a spliffering of good lands to go and find. We're going to find a Guy's Cradle, which is going to be pretty good with all these Eldrazi spawn tokens. So now we're just looking for some big threats, which could be looking at Null Drifters, Devour of Destinies. We got any Emrakul crazy shenanigans going on? No. Some Fortnite Seers. Nothing crazy in the board either. So, but anything we draw, I'm going to go on a limb and say we can cast it, unlike over on Tony's side. There's a land.
I think I'm trying to think about what has to happen here. So, with the Jeska's Will and Simeon Spirit Guide here in Tony's hand, you could conceivably draw something like, a Soul Land or something, and then. But the problem is that if you cast Jeska's Will, you're not going to be able to you cannot use the Lion's Eye Diamond Echo of Eons combo from exile, because the Lion's Eye Diamond has to discard the Echo of Eons into the graveyard, and even then too, there's a Chalice on 0, so it's just like I think the writing's on the wall here. God Nuts are going to come into play, and if there's a draw step, if there's a way, I trust Tony to be able to find it, but.
I think it's called the right-click concede button. This looks like way too much. And we're tutoring up a Fortnite every turn for the to the end of the game, trying to exile the key cards out of the hand. Might just be getting a little chat here, and yeah, we are getting a little chat. We're getting the GGs. We're going to see Lucas advance to 3-1. Unfortunately for Tony, though, that is the second loss, and because it's a double elimination tournament, gonna have to come back next month and try and battle it out, which it won't be Legacy next month. I'm going to maybe we're going to announce what the next format is next month for you beautiful people out there. But at the minute, we're getting excited for Eternal Weekends, which I know you're going to be at, Anu. Are you playing or are you covering?
I will be doing coverage at Eternal Weekend. I'm very much so looking forward to that. Just a very big passion of mine, especially when it comes to broadcasting Legacy content. I have traveled across the world to do it, and the fact that I can just fly over to Pittsburgh, I think is where it's at this year, to do it in a reasonable fashion. Very, very, very much so exciting for. Plus, I haven't been to an event to do broadcast coverage in 4 months, and let me just tell you right now, I've been cooking up a lot of cool new things that I hope takes coverage to the next level. So, if anybody watches, I hope you enjoy when it happens. It's going to be a great time. I'm
going to put you on the spot now. I'm going to get you to do an early prediction. What deck is taking that tournament down?
Okay, can I give you more than one deck, or do you want just one deck?
I want one deck. One deck, one word.
All right. It's going to be... I don't want to say this. I'm gonna say Ant. All right, I'm gonna say Ant. I think in the past 2 weeks, the past week actually, we've seen the return of Ad Nauseam Tendrils back into the metagame, and I think this deck is just like absurdly well positioned because much like Dredge on a bad day when you're like, oh, let me play in this, Magic Online Modern Challenge, and you don't queue up with any graveyard hate, and then you're like, well, turn 2 Cathartic Reunion. It's kind of like that, right? It's exactly what it is. So I don't think people are prepared for Ad Nauseam, and that's what makes it really, really like the dark horse for me to win the deck. A very good Storm Pilot can take it away.
We call that the Spike effect around here. If Spike plays a deck, it sees more and more play, especially on Magic Online. But we've got another backup match for all you beautiful people watching here. It is Mr. Lee versus Sharkcaster. They're battling for their lives here. Second loss will knock them out of it. One win, will that put them one win away from getting in the prizes? Mr. Lee, big time Cloud Post player. I've known the man for years. Really, really nice guy. Up against Sharkcaster here on the Menace, which I'm going to say Nadu, and I think we're doing Nadu things.
Yeah, this is the end game. We talked about Nadu and what it was trying to do earlier in the broadcast, but here you can actually see what's happening here with the Nomads effectively targeting all your creatures at will for 0 mana as many times as you are legally allowed to proc the Nadu. And now you can see Sharkcaster, aka Rodrigo Tagores, just drawing, getting all the cards possible here. Now, what I'm curious about to see is what is the win condition of choice. I think in these builds, there's a lot of, what is it called? Bristly, the one that gives +1/+1 counters. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to try and get the deck list up and find it though, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's Bristly build, the Spine Sower. That's the one in the green 2/2.
Whenever a land comes into play, you get a +1/+1 counter. Yeah. Limited All-Star. Seen a lot of play when this was in the modern build of this. Now seeing Legacy play. Jeez, I thought that was just a bulk rare.
Okay, and we're going to just keep going through. Now, there is technically a fizzle rate here, which actually we're seeing happen. But at this point, we've drawn like 10 extra cards, so I cannot possibly imagine that we can lose. And also,
so you say fizzle rate. It doesn't, even when it fizzles, you're still in a bad place, right?
Yeah, very bad place, right? Because we can also activate the Nomad again now and get 10 more cards. So it's a lot here. I don't know what Lee's gonna have here. Okay, that's a good one.
What?
Yeah.
What? But it does. Look, we're at 16 life. 15 is not. Doesn't matter.
Oh, we
doesn't matter.
The next turn trigger. This is consigned to memory at work. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. Best sideboard card printed in recent. It's insane.
Even if it did, I don't think it's enough. Right? We're at 16. What are you gonna do? Hit them for 15? Great. They go to 1. It does nothing.
No, there's a Caracas in play. I think that card on the very right is the Lord of the Rings version of Caracas. So you could actually hit them for 15, bounce the Emrakul, and then if you had another land, replay the Emrakul, and you have like infinite turns that way. Just legacy things,
That is a very legacy thing as well. But it looks like there's the bill that you were speaking about. That's going to hit the battlefield now. So every land that enters, we get to hit more triggers on the stack. And for anybody that's been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, year, however long Nadu's been around for, talk me through what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, so basically, Nadu is the 3/4 that has the ability to give all creatures you control, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's land, put it into play, otherwise put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn for that specific creature. And so now that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures in play, we can target all 7 of these creatures with Nomads Encore, which is a long-time legacy staple. It says for 0 mana, you can redirect 1 damage from Nomads Encore to a creature you control. So you're targeting a creature with a Nomads for 0 mana. You can effectively do this a million times, but we only get to cap out with 14 here. And every time that happens, we proc the Nadu. We get to either put a land into play, which then procs the Bristly Bill, or we get to put that card into our hand, cast it, and do some more stuff here. Or
we just turn everything sideways because we've got 11 power now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's-
it is a disgusting combo endgame that has a very decent fair game strategy with cards like Delighted Halfling and Teferi Time Raveler, or just Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Endings. I think this is one of those archetypes that has really cemented itself in legacy with the advent of Modern Horizons 3.
Like you say, have a fair game. It doesn't sound like a fair game. Just having a Toad, 2 Teferi come down and then have Nadu do Nadu things. I think that was game 2, so I think we are going to be able to get a game 3 out of that matchup, which we can go down to. So if we do have the deck list, let's get it up on the screen and have a look what potentially could be coming out the sideboard to shore it up. So we're now on the draw over on the Nadu side. We've got access to things like Paths, Feather Summers, Collector Oof looks like it could be a nice one. Obviously, we've seen the Consign to Memory and the Force of Negations, as well as the Blue Elemental Blast. Anything you'd like here coming out of that sideboard?
I think the big one for me is Consigned to Memory. I think this card, like I can keep saying this card is the greatest card, but really the players here are showing that it is here. So much so that Rodrigo even has a main deck copy of Consigned to Memory, which is, you know, it's just remarkable. I'm skeptical about some of these other cards here. Like, I'll take a look at Lee's list, but if we're bringing in Path to Exile, we have to have reasonable targets for it, and that really just depends on the shade of what Mr. Lee has brought here. So if we could take a look at that deck list, we'll have a bit more insight. And yeah, this is more of your average Cloud Post deck, so even cards like Path to Exile, not so great, but seeing 4 copies of the One Ring, I definitely want this Collector Oof, so that's definitely going to come in for sure.
This is just the Tron deck of the format, isn't it? Everything about it. Everything about it is just...
Tron, it's the Tron deck of the format with literal Tron pieces in it now, thanks to Planar Nexus, I believe. There are 4 copies of Urza's Tower. Yeah, there they are, hiding.
Yeah, it's... I'm not happy about this. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not happy about this, but...
Hey, handshake! I remember... My first Legacy Grand Prix back in 2014 was GP Jersey, and at that point I was an aspiring Miracles player. Round 2, round 3, I get paired against Cloud Post, didn't have a chance. No, just straight up 1-2 dropped from the event. It was brutal.
You just reminded everyone what a boomer you was then. I love that. I appreciate you being honest and with us all. 2014. Jeez, that's 10 years ago, my friend. How things have changed since then. But anyway, we got both players going into game 3. Remember, a lot on the line. Loser of this, they are gone. Winner, they will be still advancing and trying to get themselves some prizes. You need that glorious 4th win to get the prizes. But we have got Cloud Post at the top on Mr. Lee versus Sharkcaster on this powerful Nadu deck that we've seen so much over the last 6 months. That was obviously the talk of the town in a modern Pro Tour. Then we moved into a modern season. A lot of people were qualifying with this, and then eventually ended up getting its wings clipped. And out of that format, but straight into this format with a few extra pieces. I'm actually looking to see if there's anything that's not in modern that's in this. Green Sun Zenith is a card that we can't see. That Force of Wills, Sword of Plowshares, and the lands. Other than that, the rest of the deck's basically modern.
Well, I mean, Nomads is the big one too, right? Like, you have your 3 mana version of Nomads in Modern, but when you get to play for 1 mana, it's just like day and night difference. Like, I can't stress enough how a simple 2 mana can just like push something to the top of the tier list.
Yeah, you're right. Nomads is definitely not modern. Like, it'd be safe in modern, but it's definitely not modern legal. All right, well, after the races, there comes Urza's Tower. The Bauble is what's following up. Next, we're going to go with the Flute. So we're going all in on these hate pieces right now. Let's slow this deck down ASAP. What do you name with Flute here?
It's tricky because you may be inclined to name something like Nadu, but keeping in mind that in Legacy we have access to Green Sun Zenith, and that is a damning workaround for something like Disruptor Flute. So I'm going to trust Lee on this. I think it also just depends on what is in Lee's hand. Like, we're not worried about cards like Force of Will. So for all I know, we could see Lee name... maybe you just name Green Sun Zenith or Nadu here anyways and try to get a second one. Okay, we named Nomads on Core, which is also very reasonable. That's one thing that you cannot actually Green Sun Zenith 4. So sharp play there.
Okay, yeah, I actually quite like that. Yeah, one of the key bits of one of the key combo pieces in it. But Lee did have to take a mulligan and hasn't got much action right now, just a lot of disruption. Can we turn this land? There's the first cloud post, and just to pass the turn back again, we only have access to 2 mana. Now over on Sharkcast side, if we have a third land, maybe we can start getting some spells down. Is this how these games go normally? Like, I feel like over on the Nadu side, we should at least have some sort of mana dorks down by now.
I think this was an exception to the rule. So the reason I would probably have kept this hand if I don't have a dork on turn 1 or some sort of mana acceleration is if maybe I had like Force of Will or some sort of counter magic in my hand that was looking to sort of engage with what my opponent's trying to do here. I see we're tapping 2 mana. We're tapping out here.
Nadu to Fairy. Nadu.
Okay. All right, wait a minute. The coast might be clear here then for Lee to do some crazy stuff, but do we have enough mana here? I mean, the Cloud Post only taps for 1. The Tower only taps for 1. Do we have something like Planar Nexus to turn everything on?
Doesn't look like it. We are tapping 3 mana. Elvish Spirit Guide's going to generate the 4th for a Khan the Great Creator coming down. Instantly getting ticked down, because of course that can be dealt with this Nadu once it gets turned sideways, going down to 3, finding herself the 1 ring. Seems good. I heard that card's pretty playable.
I heard it's pretty playable as well. And with Vexing Bauble in play, Force of Will, Force of Negation are not going to be able to handle the
Green Suns for 2.
1 ring, yeah.
Imagine this is finding a bill, right? You think it's a bill? Yeah, I think it was a bill. Bill does in the battlefield. Here comes Fetch Land. And we're off to the races. Here comes the triggers. First Nadu trigger. Finds a Nomad. That's going to go to hand. We know that costs 4 mana now because of flute at the top of the screen and can't be activated. Fetch Land. Go find ourselves potentially a Dryad Arbor here. Nope. It's going to be a Tropical Island. That's going to be another trigger. It's the second trigger now. +1/+1 counter. Finds a Ponder to hand. Like I'm smelling some sort of consign to memory here. If they're fetching a blue source, not going to play this Ponder. Is there any way for us to play round it?
See what happens here. If I had to guess, passing with 1 blue mana conveniently open, that's a Planar Nexus.
That's what you were talking about. 5 mana now.
I think there's a consign. I think there's a consign.
I'm smelling a consign, but then we've only got 2 cards in hand. One of them's the 1 ring. We've got to play into it. We've got to jam everything in. We've got to get these cards out of the hand if they're in it. And sign is what we see. 1 ring going to go to the graveyard. And passing... Oh, no. So we've got a follow-up play. Hard cast Elvish Spirit Guide.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Now, that is a content play. Let's go.
That is the magic I am here for. Bill, Fetch Land. First trigger on Nadu. Finds a Prismatic Ending to hand. That's awkward. Could that be game? Cast Ending on the flute. Then we know about the 1-drop in hand that can just go off.
Yeah, Nomad's is already in hand, so I think we're about to see a game over here, unless it has to be some crazy fizzle that happens from the next 4, I guess 5 rocks on the Nadu.
Hierarch got found there, so that can get played for another Nomads. Yeah, we're just spinning the wheels right now. Turning and burning.
Yeah. I think the bottleneck here is mana. So what has to happen here for Mr. Lee is that Rodrigo just only draws creatures on spells and not lands.
Even them, how do you... Let's say a fizzle happens right now. The damage is already getting done. This Nadu is getting bigger and bigger. This Bill is getting bigger and bigger. This could just be a 2-turn clock as it is. Is there even a top deck that Lee can use to get himself out of this? You've got to think it's got to be another 1 ring if we get a turn, right?
I think so. I think the 1 ring is basically the only out here. Because, I mean, it's not like we have access to something like Thassa's Oracle in this deck. So we actually do need to win with combat damage. So the ability to...
But do we not just draw... draw a whole deck and know that consigned to memory is going to end up in the hand.
I think that's the overall game plan. We're just gonna take our whole deck, flip it upside down, and put the consigns in our hand, and then we'll have an answer to the One Ring. But I'm saying there's like a freakishly low percentage chance scenario where like this one,
That's me.
like
Okay,
this
so-
one, where we activated all our abilities, but we didn't find a copy of consigned to memory. So this is the turn. I mean, maybe there's a chance here. I'm just saying.
Big top deck, we're all in the blind. We can't see the hand. It is just a wasteland. Great art of wasteland, by the way. But that is not gonna... Am I missing something here? Tap 7 mana, wasteland. Okay, we're doing it. We're showboating a little bit. We're saying that, my number's up, but I can still do some stuff. Could we not have cracked the bauble to go a card deeper?
I guess we could have, but like, what's the chance that it's gonna resolve through something like Force of Will?
Played you out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
I would look at
Funny,
that top card. If it was a ring and we slammed it and we maybe got back into that game, it would have been one for the ages. But that is not to be, unfortunately. So, congratulations there to Sharkcaster advancing, going to go to a 3-1 record, one step closer to the prizes. Unfortunately, Mr. Lee, you're going to have to come back next month, my friend, because that is your second loss. Speaking about prizes, you at home can be in the chance of winning some play points anew. What do they need to be typing in the chat?
We type in the keyword Forge for a chance to win 120 play points. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and that means you can go and play either some Vintage Cube or just enter a constructed league, maybe get some last-minute legacy. Well, there's actually a couple weeks left, so some good legacy preparation for Eternal Weekend here. I personally have been playing a decent chunk of legacy and have been tweaking and tuning my list, and still failing. I don't know, man. Maybe my deck just sucks.
Maybe it's not the tools. We do have a slide with the top 16 players currently still in our tournament today. This is the breakdown. Who's still in it? Who's still alive to win themselves some prizes? Let's look at this. Let's start at the top. What's Andy on? Let's have a little look if I can see what deck lists Andy on. If I can, things. This is all going to be not usernames, so it's going to be hard to find out. Let's go with ones we've seen. Cherry X-Men. Seen him on Forge, 4-0 now. That's a great record. In contention to still win today's tournament. Min's wins. Do we know what they're on?
I know. Oh, is Andy Mega maybe? I don't know what Min is playing, but I do know Min.
Min is on Reanimate.
Okay. Winner of the Modern RC just a few months back in February, actually. Playing Reanimator makes a lot of sense there. Yeah.
Holding that beautiful trophy there in front of us. Then we've also got Control Freak. 3-1. We know that they're on the blue-black tempo list. Is there anyone stand out? Reed still is at 3-1, so did pick up a loss. Respect the cat. I imagine no one's something crazy. Let's have a little look.
Yeah, I'm going to guess actually that Andy is playing Eldrazi, the Eldrazi aggro deck. That one's a pretty exciting one that I would love to take a look at some point, just because it's so different from the Eldrazi aggro decks that I'm used to.
Well, I think we can actually have a little look. I think we can get it on the screen for Andy's deck, and we can have a little look and break down what's going on here. This is this just looks like an Eldrazi list to me.
Yeah. But this is the kind of the power of this deck, right? Like you're playing cards like It That Heralds the End, which, when I first saw this card printed and spoiled, I was like, oh, this is not a card that I ever need to be afraid of. And then a month later, I died to this card on turn 4. See the return of Glaring Fleshraker, which we've already showcased as to why this card is so powerful, albeit in the different perspective of Mystic Forge, but still very good in this Eldrazi style deck. And then, like, the card that I just, like, I will never... It's, like, my new least favorite card ever, but it's so powerful.
Let me guess it. Kozilek's Command.
No, it's Sowing Micah's. I mean, Kozilek's Command is also very bad. Hey, honestly, I'm gonna give you extra credit there because that's like the next best card. But Sowing Micah's Spawn, man, like this card is like so like in Modern, I think it's reasonable. But in Legacy, where you get to like 6 mana is like 3 lands. Or maybe you have like a Lotus Petal in the mix there or something like that. This card is terrifying. Like this card of the Eye of Ugin is like one of the most disgusting things I've seen just in recent memory. Very powerful card, and honestly, probably one of the reasons why this deck actually is so successful, being able to leverage this card to the maximum. And then a couple other cards that we've seen before. Thought-Knot Seer is an old-timer at this point. Devourer of Destiny, kind of the Once Upon a Time impression, but in the Eldrazi form. And then the rest of the cards you can see are 2 copies of the One Ring, 4 copies of Chalice of the Void. Like, this is all stock stuff.
Yeah, I want to. They beat Reed Duke in the last round, giving Reed his first loss of this tournament. Reed, we know he's on the reanimate list, so I'm going to go back to this Kozilek's command card. Now that it's it's got 4 different modes, like most of the commands do, and one of them is really relevant against those decks where you get to exile cards from a graveyard, and you can potentially try and dig yourself deeper to find the card. You can ramp yourself if you need to. It's got so many different modes on that. Do you think that this is why we're seeing this deck played more, because it's got a good matchup versus the blue-black reanimator lists?
It's tricky. I wouldn't necessarily call... I would not say that any deck has a good matchup against blue-black reanimator.
Okay.
But you certainly have the tools to fight the matchup. It's going to require cards like Chalice of the Void and even Kozilek's Command. The fact that it is just like it is incidental graveyard hate that also very well synergizes with your primary game plan is just makes it an all-star in this kind of deck in this format. And I mean, like, it doesn't really matter what the metagame looks like. I feel like Kozilek's Command will perpetually just be a very, very good card in Legacy and in Eldrazi.
Yeah, well, we're seeing it, show up in Modern a lot. We're showing it now stay up in Legacy. I think also, which really helps if you're playing against Reanimate deck, is you've got 4 Leyline of the Voids in the sideboard. So maybe that's the reason why you were able to beat the juggernaut that is Reed Duke. But that is all we've got for you in round number 4. So we're going to step away, have a short break, get the players ready for round number 5, and potentially do another giveaway after we pick this winner's giveaway. Though I almost forgot that. You see that, Nuke? I switched last minute when I realized, we actually have to do a giveaway winner. So, Nuke, tell me when, and I shall press this button to pick a winner. No, I won't. Wait. All
right, this time I'm ahead of it. I'm ahead of it. Will, you have to give me your Atraxa voice now. You can count. Okay.
Not that I've been practicing. I'm literally doing this off the cuff. But I feel like Atraxa, if she was to count down from 3 to 1, would be something along the lines of a heavy metal, like screamer, maybe. I feel like that's how she would talk along. So I'm going to try. Yeah, not practice, didn't rehearse this, but I'm going to go with... That's pretty good, right? No?
I'm going to let chat
really
decide here. Tell us,
that.
who do you think did it better? Will with the countdown here, or me with my...
With your squeal.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Well,
yeah.
Look, no judgment. It's fine. It was great. Look, I love Atraxa. It is what it is. Maybe we'll actually learn some friction to be able to count down from 3.
That. You said, what about Atraxa now?
Well, I love Atraxa. Atraxa's great. It's a big, powerful 7/7. It's awesome. She's Phexy in general. Get out of here. All right. Well, winner's been chosen. If that is your name, please DM me. I'll make sure you get some codes, and you've now got 120 play points better off. Everyone else, don't worry. I've got a lot more. In fact, how about we just do a double giveaway next round? How's that sound? Good for you?
Yeah, I'm totally down. Share the love, yeah.
This is why you shouldn't give me power. I abuse it, but it is what it is. Right, round number 4 over and done with. We'll be back shortly. Round number 5, don't go anywhere. And we are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the MTGO Creator Showdown. You're joining us in round number 5 of 6. This is where we're getting, the big matches are coming in. Losers, you are out of here. Winners, you're going to be in with a lot of money. And we've got our 2-time champion down in the feature match. And I think they're starting, so we're going to head straight down there while I give you all the juicy details. Because, of course, the last 2 months has been won by none other than Tandy MTG, Mr. Todd Anderson himself. There he is, the bottom of our screen, and he's up against Control Freak, who we saw earlier on, who's carrying on this record with this Dimir Tempo deck and a nice 3-1 record. How does this go? Which deck would you say favored? Is it the Reanimate deck or the Tempo deck?
Well, when we saw earlier Reed Duke playing this deck, kind of convinced me that Reanimator would handily be ahead in this matchup. But I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The Tempo deck definitely does have tools in the main deck to fight against the Reanimator strategy, whether that is cards like main deck Nile Spellbomb or access to generic removal like Shieldred's Edict or Brazen Borrower.
Spellbomb off the top. And I was just about to talk about the Valdagoth Terror Eater that is in the graveyard here for Tandy. We haven't seen that card yet, one of the new cards from Duskmoor, but don't think we're going to see it anymore as Animate Dead is drawn off the top. Oh, we're going after Control Freak's graveyard, and I think a good look at what we're trying to get back. Is that a Tamiyo?
Yeah, it looks like a Tamiyo Inquisitive Student, and this is great because now you are sort of saying, hey, like if you want to use this Nile Spellbomb, I'm going to get to keep my graveyard intact. It's a really tight play there by Tandy, just sort of kind of pinching the pressure point a little bit here, and you can see that Control Freak eventually makes the judgment, like, hey, all right, just take the Tamiyo here. I think I need to keep this Nile Spellbomb around to actually stop something scarier like the Valgavoth coming back here. Actually, Valgavoth is something I have not yet seen put into play, so I'm kind of excited to, well, if it ever does come into play, then I'll get to know a little bit better how it performs.
Yeah, well, once it hits the battlefield, I think it's pretty much an instant win button. Very hard to get off the battlefield, or extremely large cost to get off the battlefield, should I say. Brainstorm is what we find over on Control Freak's side. And I do want to talk about that Animate Dead, okay? Because there could be a lot of players like myself coming from Modern to this. We don't have access to Animate Dead and all these crazy spells. That the older kind of version of Reanimate spells, you can target your opponent's graveyard as well as yours. A lot of cards printed in more recent times will have keywords something along the lines of your graveyard.
Yes, and I think that's part of the reason why Animate Dead is so good. It's just that it's like the next best Reanimate spell after the OG Exhume and Reanimate. Not really too much to say here. It just does what it needs to do, and it does it really, really well.
That just seems to be the whole deck, to be fair. It does exactly what it needs to be. Very efficient. We are going to have to fire off this Ponder, though, which will draw us a card, which means this Orcish Bowmaster will trigger. We can send a point of damage either to the Tamiyo or to the face, and the Orcamas token will grow. I guess you point it out the Tamiyo so they can't crack the clue? Or do you know, it looks like we're going to go in face.
That's kind of a weird judge question right there. So if we end up cracking the clue here, that'll be the third card. Tamiyo is going to flip, and so then the question is whether or not the Tamiyo will die before the flip actually happens, and that's some sort of like app sort of stuff that...
How does that work, though? Because remember, the Tamiyo is owned by Control Freak. If it flips, does it go back to him?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Great point there. Yeah, so Todd actually has to balance that. Does not want to give a free planeswalker. I've done this before, and I haven't learned my lesson. I brainstormed with a Tamiyo. My opponent literally typed in the chat, thanks. And I was like, oh, no, not like this.
It's only because I was like, why wouldn't we crack the clue token there? Like, why would we be going to the face and trying to work out, what was happening? And I think I found the line. It's to not give my opponent a planeswalker, but completely free. Force is going to get fired off. Force this Entomb, which isn't going to find anything and put it in the graveyard. So just firing off to get it out of the hand. Follow up is going to be Tamiyo. Brainstorm still left in hand. Going to fire that off now to instantly flip the Tamiyo on this side. Finds Wasteland. Bloomburrow, Brazen Borrower. Now would you flip the Tamiyo? No, it doesn't really make much sense, does it?
Yeah, I'd probably still just take the gradual draw one card at a time kind of thing here. But with Control Freak finding the Brazen Borrower, that is probably actually that's not true. I mean, the problem is like I don't think we can get the Valgavoth into play. But even if we did get the Valgavoth into play, there are so many permanents that we could actually pay the ward cost, which is sacrificing 3 non-land permanents if the Brazen Borrower targeted the Valgavoth. At this point, I'm gonna say it, like, this is probably lights out for Tandy, and we're probably gonna quickly go over to a post-board game here.
Well, we're going to attack, we're going to draw a card deeper. You know what I mean? Tandy, very good at Magic the Gathering over the years, and of course very good in the Creator Showdown, being the defending champion currently. We're not going to see him on it back today, but could still put up a nice 5-1 finish in today's tournament. And I was actually hanging out with him last weekend. I was stateside, and we were hanging out, and he's told me the way he selects his decks is he goes online, finds out what decks have 5-0'd twice by the same person in a recent event, and that's the deck. That's how he's picked all his decks to this point, and how he's got in, just picked them up, piloted them extremely well, and is able to win these events and win himself a nice chunk of money in the process.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Oh, this is kind of an interesting play. Taking up the Tamiyo here instead of buying back something like the Shieldred's Edict that's in the graveyard, because conceivably you could play the Wasteland, Brazen Borrower the Tamiyo, put it into your hand, because it's yours, and then you could Shieldred's Edict to get rid of the Psychic Frog here, but maybe just saying that we're looking to... Yeah, the downside then is that you're tapped out, so you can't really draw a card off of a cycled Nile Spellbomb.
Bounce the frog while the shields are down. Draw a card. 1 point of damage is going to go to the face, dropping Tandy down to 4. Island is what he found. Needs to be a big draw step. Troll of Kazakh Dune. Don't think that's it.
I agree.
It might just be a +1/+1 counter at this point.
Yeah, so
we have to leave I guess we got to leave Tamiyo behind for as blocking duty right now for that big 4/4 Orca Mass.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that we played the land there, because we technically discard all 3 cards and make the Psychic Frog into a 4/5, and that would kind of block the Orc army.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also thinking that. I was like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have played that island. But 2 land off the top here for Control Freak. Not what we're after. Definitely looking for a bit of interaction. Remember, does have that Brazen Borrower on an adventure. Can come down at instant speed, 3/1 with flying. Start off with some combat.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like every single, avenue that Tandy might try to take, Control Freak just has, like, the door shut, right? Like, oh, I'll give my Psychic Frog flying, and then I'll, deal damage this way, draw a card that gets me out of the situation. No, I have Brazen Borrower. Oh, I'll, animate that. No, I have Nile Spellbomb. Like, at this point, I don't know. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, okay. And now we just have to literal Shieldred's Edict to get rid of the Psychic Frog, and there it is. That's going to be the game.
Well, Entomb and Reanimate the top 2 cards, but it doesn't matter. We get to go to the sideboards for both of these players. Let's start over on Tandy's side. It's a game down. Needs to win 2 back-to-back now to stay in today's tournament and try and get himself a little bit more cash. So looking at the sideboard, what do you like, Anu?
Okay, we'll definitely need to bring in some of these Dark Betrayals. Now, this is a card that I've seen rise up in popularity with during, when Grief was more popular. Destroy target black creature, simple, clean, very efficient. So that gets rid of Orcish Bowmasters, that gets rid of Psychic Frog as well. Beyond that, maybe you can make an argument for something like Engineered Explosives as a way to get rid of, something like Tamiyo, but it's kind of clunky, all things considered. Maybe it'll, force the activation on something like Nile Spellbomb. And actually thinking about it too, depending on what's in Control Freak sideboard, like if remember, we saw Grafdigger's Cage earlier in the day, so maybe it makes sense to bring in something like Engineered Explosives as, a counter move to the Grafdigger's Cage here.
I feel like if you're coming into this tournament or just any Legacy tournament in general right now, like you're going to play against Blue-Black at some point. You need to have either a good sideboard plan or a good main deck plan against that deck. And looking at this here, we've got the cage in there, as you said. Plus we can back it up with our counter magic. So must think we've got an okay matchup, even though we did see them lose to Reed Duke a little bit earlier on. Haven't seen this Planeswalker do too much though. Is this just spice because we've got a lot of content creators, or is this card legit?
At this point, I think it's I've seen it in enough lists, both by creators and not for creators, that I think Kaito is just it's a good card. So I have never seen it in play. I have never seen it do a single thing, but the fact that I've seen it from list to list to list, and the fact that my goat McWinsauce has gone up to 2 copies of Kaito leads me to believe that the card is secretly powerful. I haven't actually seen it to know for a fact.
All right, well, looking at the opening hands here, both players on keeps. Todd with just the 1 lander here, but does have Dark Betrayal, as you said. It's got a Daze, Engineering Explosives, looks like that came in as well. Can Cycle go get herself a second land with that Troll of Kazakh Dune, of course. Maybe even want to, animate dead that later on. But over on Control Freak side, we've got Fort Seizes, Surgical Extractions, that 1 copy of Shooter's Edict turning up again, Psychic Frog, and an Orcish Bowmaster. These hands for both players look great.
I feel like Control Freak's hand is like really, really good, whereas Tandy's hand is, I'd give it like a 6.5, maybe a 7. So we'll see what happens here as Thoughtseize comes down. I mean, it's good that you have answers to cards like Grafdigger's Cage and answers to cards like Tamiyo in the form of the Engineered Explosives, but it's one of those things where it's kind of situational, and this is where I kind of look at these blue-black mirrors and I'm just like, it's hard to pinpoint the exact correct move, because looks like Tandy's got a lot of answers to certain things, but nothing proactive to do, and that's where it gets certainly very tricky, right? Like, we'll see how the game plays out.
Well, while we're thinking what we want to take with this Fort Seas, I'm going to start another giveaway. So, chat, type the word frog in chat to be in a chance of winning 120 play points, and this is a double winner. I'm picking 2 winners this time, so make sure you type the word frog to be in with a chance. Going back to this lineup scene here, because we've still got the Fort Seas on the stack, we did have the option to daze this. We could have floated mana and dazed this Fort Seas, so potentially either have a counter magic battle over it, or just potentially stop it in its tracks. Why did we not do that? Why is Todd happy to lose a card from his hand? Is it because he's on the play, wants to take that mana advantage moving forward, or is he just like, all these cards are kind of okay? They're not particularly amazing. They're just good cards in certain situations, as Dark Betrayal is finally the card taken.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's like, I look at my hand and I'm like, oh, none of these cards are actually really that good. Like, if I had a Psychic Frog, maybe then I would do something, but I don't. So I'm really happy, or I'm not sad to see any of these cards go. Take your Thoughtseize, and now the downside of dazing is not something that I really need to worry about. So if I top deck something like a Psychic Frog, like, it's going to be good.
Okay, we in the upkeep Surgical, not the draw step, which is slightly interesting, but sequencing, we'll talk about that, because that was a very disciplined play by Todd to let that Fort Seas resolve. As you're saying, these cards kind of do something, but they're not super key. So having the resilience to not just fire off a daze there, it shows real good, high level of skill in knowing the format as it is. We're going to play Engineered Explosives, pass a turn, land, pass a turn, force negation up, as well as that Orcish Bowmaster. Ooh, okay. This is the dream. This is all I want to do in Legacy. I want my opponent to go Brainstorm, and I'm just going to go Orcish Bowmaster. I'm fighting. I'm firing the force off. I want it. I don't even know if 4 damage is actually good right now, but I want to do it. I want that got you feeling.
I'm also very tempted. I think I would actually fire the force off here, mostly because the kicker here is that I know that Tandy's hand, not really good with everything left over. I mean, we don't know that that's the duplicate Engineered Explosives, but we know there's the Animate Dead, and we know that there's the Atraxa and...
What does multiple shots from a bow sound like?
Man, I'm not gonna fall for this trap again. I think I almost you almost had me through there, but
pew, 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 pew.
Are you speaking from experience on this one?
Yeah, I fired loads of bows in my time. Yeah.
All right. Well. Yeah. Okay. Will Hall, the Bowmaster.
They call me Robin Hood in my.
I feel like if anything, you would be like against it because of all your infect homies. just kind of getting got.
Oh yeah,
is that a rub-in? Is that too soon?
That's the other thing that it sounds like. It sounds like my tears. This guy has just me sobbing in the corner. Like, oh man, not again. Firing off my invigorate to defend my creatures is definitely not as fun. But
yeah, so here looks like we're gonna see after the dust settles, Force of Negation resolves, and we have our 4-power orc army token that's about to come crashing in.
No, that's getting fail pushed. I imagine.
Is it though?
Oh, okay. Right, go in blocks. Fetch. Are we gonna do the engineer explosives? What are we teasing it? Land. Take the damage. Go down to 9. End step. Follow the engineered explosives. Be mana efficient. It's going to take the Orcish Bowmaster off the battlefield.
And that's exactly why I do like it. I feel like life totals matter, but not so much here. And that's a big pickup there for Ta.
Ooh, that
Entomb.
is a big... So we can go Entomb, Animate Dead, or Entomb, Fatal Push, Animate Dead if nothing can be found off the Brainstorm. Upkeep, Fatal Push. Don't want to be taking these big chunks of 4 damage.
That's so interesting. We're sitting on the Entomb here.
Another Orcish Bowmaster found. Did we just fire Entomb off in the 10 here, right? No? Okay, tell me why. I would have snapped that off. That's my inexperience.
We're playing so safely here. I gotta respect this. I think Teddy's just sort of thinking like, all right, well, I've already seen Surgical Extraction. What is my plan if there's something else? And I guess the plan here is to just wait.
Now we're firing off this Entomb.
Right, so the reason to fire off here is because your opponent has now shown you like a glimpse of pressure. If there's nothing going on, you can afford to sit and improve the quality of your hand.
Well, if we keep finding lands for Control Freak, this might be a way for Tandy to get back into it. But now we're going to see the power of a Brainstorm, how it can turn your hand from not much into something good. Daze is the card we found, which unless Tandy draws a blue card, we know is going to be good enough to stop these Animate Deads. Dropping down to 6.
I mean, what's the best draw here for Tandy? It must be a land, must be
blue card. Any blue card?
Blue card is also fantastic.
Yeah, blue card or land, I think, are the two we're looking for.
That's it. There you go.
But there is a Shooter's Edict, remember? So we can counterfight over this. Then once the creature resolves, we Shooter's Edict it with it on the stack. Yes, there's going to be a load more cards going to the hand for Tandy, but the first threat is dealt with. It will leave Control Freak empty-handed, though.
I mean, the nuts thing here is that the Shield's Edict is just going to put the Atraxa back into the graveyard, which we can then Animate Dead next turn. But the real question is whether or not the damage is going to matter.
We just let it happen. We're like, sure, I've got another one in my hand. I'll just do it again next turn. The discipline here from Tandy is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? You don't get to be one of the best for no reason. Force of Will found. No blue card to go with it, though. So now we can Animate Dead with Force backup for the Edict, which swings it back the other way. So now this might actually end up great in Tandy's favor, especially with a second Daze found.
Yeah, this is all things are coming up here for the Reanimator deck.
Animate. My Phyrexian General enters the battlefield. It's not a 7/7. It'll be a 6/7 now with Flying Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink. And the ETB effect, we get to look at the top 10 cards of our library, put one of each card type into our hand. Here comes the Force of Will. It's going to stop the Shooter's Edict. And we get to restock. What's the maximum amount of cards that we can enter our hand from this?
Oh, I think I'm going to guess 5. I just made that number up, though.
Enchantment, instant, sorcery, land, creature. Yeah, 5. I like 5. Is there an artifact for it? Maybe 6, but we've already seen both engineered explosives. So, yeah, I think 5 is the most that can possibly get in the hand right now.
Skill game. Yep.
While you're in the booth, my friend. That's why you're in the booth.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. The point that I really want to highlight here is that if we had fought over the first days,
we
would have been able to draw a bunch of extra cards, because technically Animate Dead would have come into play. We would have got the Atraxa trigger, it would have been edicted, and we would have gotten it away we would have gotten the Atraxa trigger again with the second Animate Dead. But here, this is something that you can sort of pick up on the storyline, is that Tandy has been very carefully playing around Graveyard Hate this entire time, saying, hey, like, yes, these 5 extra cards that I could be getting, yeah, sounds sweet, but if my opponent has the Graveyard Hate, like, I'm not even gonna get the first card, right? So playing very, very carefully around this, I think, is we're seeing the reward now suddenly, and I just have to say, like, very well done.
Reanimating the Tameo from the other side. I was looking, there is an Orcish Bowmaster in there as well, but if we did that, we'd leave ourselves dead to another Orcish Bowmaster, even though we do have counter magic for it. But remember, the Force of Will does cost us 1 life point to cast if we do use it for its alternative ability. So bring back that 1 drop from the graveyard. I really like that. Psychic Frog resolves. I'm pretty sure anything can resolve as long as this Atraxa sticks around, and it looks like it means we get an attack phase with it. That's 6 more life points and potentially enough to get us into a third matchup between both these players. Reanimate is what we found again. Atraxa connects, takes Tandy up to 8, drops Control Freak down to 9.
That's probably game over right there then. There was like a very small window where, you know, with Tandy at 2 life, you could maybe do some weird stuff, but now that life gain is no longer the problem, yeah, we're playing with our food now at this point.
Draw step, fatal push. Ugh, bit awkward this turn for that now. Yep, it's gonna be too much. It means we get to go to a game 3. Both players fighting for their life here in the Creator Showdown. That second loss gets them out of here. That 4th win gets them into the prizes. Remember, Tandy is our back-to-back champ right now. Love to try and finish the day with a nice 5-1, but standing in his way is Control Freaks. Let's have a look at their deck list one more time. Let's start over Control Freak side. He's trying to get this back. So already won game 1. Now going to try and win game number 3. Is there any changes now we're on the play with this sideboard?
I really don't think you're going to expect to see too many changes going from game 2 to game number 3, because it really is like, I think you won game 1, and now going into game 2, you're mostly trying to make your critical observations. So for example, now we know that Tandy has brought in engineered explosives. That's something to be very cognizant of. And we also know, or maybe get a glimpse of how carefully Tandy is playing around surgical extraction, and the reason that's, you know, valuable is because maybe it gives you a little bit of like bluff equity, or it gives you a little bit of like gameplay equity, knowing that, okay, Tandy's gonna play super slow but super safely, which means I get to maybe, you know, step on it and be a little bit more aggressive in my opening turns. You know, these sort of observations they're nuanced, they're hard to pick up on, but it's something that you can act on.
Of course, being on the play gives us that tempo advantage, right? We can get a turn 1 Tameo down, a turn 1 Thoughtseize. We can back it up with Dazes being more powerful now that we're on the play, as well as Wasteland, to try and lock the game down that way. Because we definitely can't win if Tandy starts resolving his spells and getting the big creatures on the battlefield. So everything to play for both of these players. Let's see how they're getting on with sideboarding as we move back down to the match. Remember, after this round number 6, that is where we are going to do today's big giveaway of that Beacon microphone. Shout out to our sponsors, Beacon, Monkey Bubble, and Daybreak Games. Look at these open hands, New. What are you thinking?
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with Tandy's side of things. Force Days. These are generically fine. Can't really ever be upset with them, but I think the problem is we don't actually have any of our combo pieces. Oh, never mind. All right, we're actually suddenly online with drawing the single Animate Dead. Troll can cycle itself, and I would not be shocked to see something like Cycle Troll, turn to Animate, and hope that Days and Force are enough to get the Troll into play. But on the other side, Surgical Extraction is a big pickup here, and then Shieldred's Edict also just gives you that degree of insulation that you're looking for against something that may have resolved through the cracks here. So we're going to get a very interactive game of Magic. I do imagine that we're going to get to at least like turn 5 or 6, and that's the Caster's Curse right there. We'll see how the games play out.
Yeah, there's a lot of one-offs in this deck for Control Freak. Edict being one of them, Surgical being one of them, and having both of them in our opening hand, 2 of our better cards in the matchup. You gotta feel great when you look like, oh yeah, okay, it's paying off. We're doing this. We're kicking on gas. Here comes Troll. Cycled. Swamp cycled. Just going to go find ourselves an underground sea. Not playing around any wastelands over here. We can play that, and we're just going to go straight for the animate dead. And this might be the time we see everybody kind of firing off protection magic. Do you think we're surgical in this, or would you save it for the edict? What sort of... Yeah, it looks like we're clicking on it. But what's the reason for this? Why are we doing this now? Why are we picking this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that you're going to end up going for surgical here now is because it gives you 2 windows to sort of interact with what's going on here. Let's say, for example, you don't fire off the surgical, you untap, you play your land, you Shieldred's Edict, and that fails. Now you're in a really bad spot where you have the opponent with a troll in play, and you also have this this surgical extraction that doesn't matter. So using it here, while it's not ideally going after something like the Valgavoth Archon or Atraxa, like, get your value out of the card. You know what I mean? While you can, surgical at the end of the day has some conditions and strings attached to it. And the thing about Shieldred's Edict too is that you will find a way to connect with it. You know, your opponent still is playing cards like Psychic Frog, so if you don't extract immediately value out of that card, like, you're fine. You'll find another instance where you will get to extract value and win accordingly.
Are we going to see double days? There's the only defense that we now have is double days. We can pay for one of them, cannot pay for both, and would lose to any other counter magic if it is in Control Freak's hand. Or is that just too many resources, putting us behind too much by returning 2 lands to our hand?
Actually, I don't have an answer to this one. It could go both ways, honestly. It could really go both ways.
Also, you know, shout out Texas from Wasteland, but pays for the first days, second days. We're all in on this animate dead on that Troll of Khazak Dune. This will be enough for it to resolve. Unfortunately for Tandy, that edict is in hand, and we'll be able to clean this up nicely as soon as he passes the turn back to Control Freak.
I think my thought process here on why I would fight over the double days is because we don't really have too much else going on. Like, yes, we have Psychic Frog, but that's only a single turn away. And if the troll resolves, it's such a big deal. There's so few answers that I would just feel like I'm in a good spot. But then the real kicker is like, let's say there is an answer to the troll. That's their turn sort of catching up on tempo by stabilizing the board, which means you get a free turn to put the land back into play, which means you're actually not as far from the Psychic Frog as you think you are.
Right. Tameo was the card found for the turn. We could flip Tameo. We could go Tameo, Brainstorm. We could go Psychic Frog. We're going to play out the Wasteland straight away, which basically means, Tandy, you need to go find a basic.
Yeah, and this is a really tricky scenario because at the end of the day, you are trying to play around days still as much as you can. I mean, the thing is that your opponent has played 1. Oh, actually, you know what? I guess we know that the coast is clear because there wasn't a second days. So it's fine to just end step the Dark Betrayal here on the Psychic Frog and actually maximize mana efficiency. So yeah, I was going to say that it looks like Control Freak is sort of like massively ahead with the way the hands are. But what's crazy to me is that there have been some pretty clutch top decks, like, you know, the extra removal spells and everything that have allowed Tandy to just stay even somehow.
Well, here comes Tameo, Brainstorm. Maybe we're trying to fire off, see if there's any more dazers or protection magic over in Tandy's side. There isn't one, because we know about the land in hand. So that's instantly going to flip the Tameo. Yes, another card deeper in our deck. We find nice Spellbomb, keep that in hand. We like that one. That's going to be pretty good. That's going to stop plan A from over on Tandy's side. I imagine this is we're just going to go Fatal Push Spellbomb here.
Yeah, I think so. I think that all tracks out.
Is there a which one would you do first in case there is that last card is another Daze or something crazy?
I think
Frog's got to be there.
I think so too. I think Frog is just a bit more important since it's literally in play. Like, you could theoretically play against, like, you know, a million different invisible outs, you know, that potential timelines, but you're literally looking at Wow, that was a really good draw.
Can you remember?
That was a really like literally the biggest way to come back was with that top deck engineer explosives. But yeah, going back to the point, it's like the frog is literally in play. Take care of that first.
I was going to ask you, remind me of the CMC of Tamiyo once he's flipped. It's 1. Disgusting.
Yeah, it's a 1.
Oh, that was a great top deck from Tamiyo. Okay, we still got a game.
And also, the crazy part too, we saw this line earlier. The reanimation spells are still technically live because you can buy back your opponent's Tamiyo, for example.
Okay, that's what we got. All right, is it Undercity Sewers? It is Undercity Sewers. Surveil, like that on top. That means that's super scary for Control Freak at the top of our screen. Just a force of will in hand.
Hey, Will, ethical question here. Ready for it?
Shoot.
Your opponent places Surveil land. They keep it on top. Are you happy or sad?
Sad.
Okay. So you're happy when they mill it?
Yes, because it's a blind draw. Unless they're milling like an Atraxa or something, then you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always sad. My opponent surveils, I'm always sad. Either they kept it on top and it's a good card, uh-oh, they're drawing a good card, or they milled it and I'm like, dang, they're not drawing a bad card. I can't ever be happy about anything.
It just shows how good the Surveil lands are now in every format that they're legal in, right? Surveil lands plus fetch lands. There's not many decks that don't play them anymore. Like, pretty much every deck, I'm trying to think of a deck that doesn't, like, the Tron deck Stone and Mono Red doesn't play them. But, like, they're basically a free card. Yeah. Ooh, Cage off the top.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I feel like if you're in Tandy's spot, you might have an inkling that the Force of Will is in hand, because, like, why else wouldn't you be using the Wasteland?
You could be sandbagging, I guess, like a Brazen Burrow or something, maybe.
Yeah, that's possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana now. Now, like the Wasteland is still cutting your opponent off of lines, like hard casting something like speak of the devil.
Troll?
Yeah, like the troll, for example, right? Like that's kind of a big deal. So
did we just cast a curse it again? Boom. So name a card, name a card, name a card. Traxer. Ah, frog. I thought I got it. It was a gold card. I was like, ooh, I got it. But no, I think this frog is going to end up getting bounced. That's one of the better ones that we could find here as well, of course, because that cage is on the battlefield. Meaning all the reanimate shenanigans cannot happen.
Wait, no, not even one of the better ones. I think it is the literal best draw.
Is it? Hold on, how much money we got? 6. Let's have a little look, see, shall we? We get a hard cast a troll. Not great. Frog great. Can't play Atraxas. Can't play the Valgadoff. No, I think you're right. I think that is just the best card you could have drawn was a Psychic Frog. Yeah. Which is the giveaway word right now for anybody that wants to get involved. We are picking 2 winners for 120 play points courtesy of Daybreak Games. But you got to be in it to win it. Type the word frog in chat if you haven't already, because we're going to be picking a winner after this match. So Force of Will resolves. After the little cat, after the brainstorm, we find and animate dead. That's going to do nothing in the face of that cage on the other side. Top deck for Control Freak is a Psychic Frog. As we wrote it up.
This is such a back and forth game. It's crazy to me.
Now we're firing off the Wastelands. Let's cut you off a couple more spells. Top deck on the other side is an engineered explosives. We do this on 1, right? 1, get rid of the cage, bring back. Oh, we've got nothing too big to bring back. Or do we do it on 2 and get rid of the frog on the other side?
Oh man, these are tough questions. Why are you asking me? Let's see. Tandy is definitely in like that pickle themselves. Like, what do you even do?
Did we shuffle away, or do we know that we've got 2 Entombs on top?
I think we shuffle those 2 Entombs away, yeah.
Ah, okay. I think you got to stop the frog, right? Like, you cannot let that frog draw more cards. Yeah, Tandy's agreeing with me. Fire it off straight away. Is there a reason why we had to fire off straight away? Is there anything we could have waited till combat for? Because potentially we could have caught something like an Orcish Bowmaster, which is the draw for the turn. As we pass the turn back, just another Underground Seas found for Tandy here. Not going to play it.
Low-key, I'm just wondering if it was kill the... But you can't really beat your opponent's frog because they'll also just be... They'll have more cards, so it's like... Go ahead.
In the top deck battle, you can't have your opponent drawing 2 a turn when you opposed to your 1.
Yeah, especially when they're attacking first. So
Both players leaving lands in their hand here, though. Talk to me. Why are we doing that?
I think it's for the potential brainstorms and or Psychic Frog discards.
But now that we've drawn this Troll of Kazakh Dune, we are 1 mana away, so that's why we see. So I'll play the land, even though all the seas are gone. How many lands does this deck play?
I think there's only a basic island left to cast this Troll of Khazad-dûm.
Correct. Let's make sure it's not in the graveyard. Nope. Yeah, it is literally just an island left in the deck. Flashing a few more threats. Daze is what we found, which would answer that troll if it was to be hard cast.
It's so strangely good here. The turn 14 Days is going to be such a relevant card.
Land, Force of Will. That's not it. We're just going to scoop it up here. That is going to be Control Freak advancing to a 4-1 and taking down the 2-time Mr. Todd Anson, Tandy MTG. So congratulations to Control Freak in the prizes. Can they end today, though? 5-1. Well, you're going to have to stick around and find out. And of course, the main I'm going to say the key card of that whole matchup was Frog, which is still the same word right now as a giveaway. So type the word Frog for 120 play points. Potentially, if I do draw your name. Anu, talk to me. That matchup, key cards, we saw a lot of back and forth. Was Daze the key card there at turn 14, or was it the some of the was it the cage? Talk to me. I find out if we got a backup match.
Very interesting, because I feel like this was just a good game of back and forth Magic, and then suddenly one player top decks the threat that just takes over the game, right? So this is something that we've seen historically in so many instances, and in this case, it just turns out that Psychic Frog was the one that it was the overarching, like the looming threat that took the game over at the very end, right? Just until you can, fully stabilize, you're just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I think even a lot of these decisions, like, early on in the game, the critical turn, like, what is it, 2 or 3 fight, where it was like, all right, I'm going to animate dead my Troll of Khazad-dûm, but there's a surgical extraction, I force it, gets forced back, I double Daze to keep it around, but then my opponent has the Shield's Edict. Like, that was such a critical turn of events to have both of those. I think overall Control Freak just played really well, understanding like when to extract what value out of what card, and that is what matters, right? At the end of the day, it's a battle of value that lets the dust settle, and then we have cards like Psychic Frog close the game out.
Right, I'm having a little look at the players and how the matchups went. It looks like Cherry Axeman won again on table 1s, is still undefeated. Min also won, so that's our 2 undefeated players. So it looks like that's going to be our 5-0s playing off of the 6-0. Other than that, Reed picks up a loss this round as well. Obviously, we know about Tandy. Respect the Cat was able to beat Burn on that bank control deck that me and you were talking about before we went live. And Terabad was able to take down Lucas in a battle of 2-1 over on table 6. So I think we know what's going to be our main feature match moving forward. But what we don't know is what's happening in the future here on the beautiful channel that is MTGO. I feel like you've got some input into a real cool event that's been happening for the last week, my friend. Take it away.
Yeah, so I'd just like to give a shout out to the Magic Online Creator Season, which started a little bit like midway through last week. This week, it's Legacy Week, and I have been hard at work with the Magic Online team, coming up with a very fun, structured event for players to get that last-minute, high-quality preparation in for Eternal Weekend. And so starting from the 4th, and today is actually the last day, anybody who 5-0s a league, top 8s a challenge, or goes 4-0 or 3-1, or went 4-0 or 3-1 in prelim, got a Premier Legacy token, which you can actually use to play in the Unzid's Eternal Legacy Showdown that's happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Now, worry not if you weren't able to get your token in through qualification. You can actually go to the Magic Online store right now and purchase 2 Sapphire tokens that'll get you entry into tomorrow's event. A couple notes here first. Alongside the 2 tokens that you get, you also are rewarded with all access for about 6 days, I believe. And then in addition, tomorrow's event, I am very grateful that the Magic Online team was actually able to make this one of the largest Legacy prized events just ever to happen online. It's the prize pool is larger than that of your average super qualifier. So It's going to be very intense. This really is designed for, people to play my favorite format, the format that I love, but also in a fashion that is meaningfully important to everyone who's, prepping and playing for the largest Eternal event of the year, which is going to be Eternal Weekend happening later in November and December.
Yeah, it's great timing. Like, I just, I want to shout out Daybreak yet again, working with creators and really helping. And I've known you for a while now. I don't know much this means, having your name in your favorite game, having your own event in the format that you love. Just give me some appreciation. What does that mean? That's almost like peaking as a content creator. Like, you're like the chosen one. You've got what you want. You've done it. Where do you even go from that? Like, how good does it feel to see your name on the game you're playing?
I will say that it is pretty surreal, but I think what's more exciting to me is that it's like Daybreak sort of like not just looking at me, but the entire Legacy community saying, hey, like, we hear you. You guys want to play Magic? You guys want to play Magic that matters? Here's your event. I think just being heard and getting that great community feedback is amazing. So just thank you, Daybreak. Thank you, Magic Online team, for really making this kind of cool stuff happen.
It's not just you. They're working with a bunch of people. We've got MTG Nerdgirl's got an event on. We've got Girls Play have an event on. Amez has got an event on. Spike's got an event on. There's so much happening in the coming weeks that Daybreak are working hard to give not only the players what they want, but also the content creators. They really see value in us, and I love how they work back and forth for us. It's just a huge shout out. We actually got to hang out with the team in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, which was an eye-opener. That was a good weekend, very fun amongst it all. Those stories are off camera though. We can't tell you chat, unfortunately, but I'm just saying we had fun. We had a very good time doing it. We're gonna have one last look at the standings before we go away on round number 5 and bring this to an end. And then we're going to come back, of course, with round number 6, the penultimate round, where we're going to crown ourselves a champion. And by looking at these standings, it is either going to be Cherry Axeman or it's going to be Min's Wins, great name, walking away with today's trophy. Having a look down there a bit more, we've got Control Freak, we've seen them. Andy's also at 4-1, Respect the Cats. We've got quite a lot of big names. Ryan Overdrive is still going in. I believe they're playing Mono Red Stompy as well. Terabad. All the way down to 9th place, still in contention of walking away with that nice crisp $600.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm just going to say it, right? I'm rooting for anyone that isn't on blue-black here, which means I'm hoping that Cherryman can show us a thing or two with the Mystic Forge deck. I mean, Cherry has also just been playing this deck for a long time. Cherry, a long time, like Legacy and Vintage, and honestly, like just roundabout Magic aficionado, just plays everything, right? Has crushed me personally many times with this style of deck. So I'm looking forward to seeing that final match to see who we actually crown as our 6-0. Is it going to be the regional champion, Min Wins, or will it be Cherryman on the Mystic Forge combo deck?
No favourites, but one of them is a Brit. I'm just saying. There's going to be no favourites as we go into that, though. But we need to pick ourselves some winners of the giveaway that's happening right now. Type the word frog to be in with a chance. There's going to be 2 winners. If you see your name in the chat, you're going to have to DM me and I'll give you a code and you'll get 120 play points better off, courtesy of Daybreak Games. And the way that we're going to do this, Anu's going to do his best frog impression. I want 1 ribbit. Every ribbit, give me 2 ribbits. Every ribbit, I'm going to pick a winner, right? Ready? Do it. Take it away, my friend. Take it away.
Ribbit.
1 winner. 2 winner. Hey, that actually worked out pretty well. All right, cool. Right, okay, 3 winners, done. 3. We did an extra one because you did the ribbit. There's 3 winners in chat right now. If you see your name, DM me. I'll get a code to you. You can thank Anu for doing the 3rd ribbit then. Daybreak, please don't fire me. On that one, that's the end of round number 5. We're going to take away, come back for round number 6. Don't go anywhere. See you shortly. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time today to the MTGO Creator Showdown, where we'll be pitting your favorite content creators head-to-head over 6 rounds of Magic, which is, of course, Legacy, until we crown ourselves a champion, and we are moments away from finding out who that champion is going to be. So let's remind ourselves, what are they playing for? Let's look at the prizes that is on the line. Anu, talk me through these prizes.
Yeah, so for anybody who is finishing going 4-1 into 4-2 for the last round, they're going to be rewarded with 500 play points, a buttload of treasure chests, and a digital full set. But the real prizes start at 5-1 or better. So you're going to have $600 awarded to everybody who goes 5-1. Second place gets $750. But first place goes home with a whopping $1,250. And I feel like this last match that we're about to see, there's a lot on the line here. So it's dialing up.
We should also add to this slide and the tweet. You get to do the bragging tweet that you were able to take down the Creator Showdown. Which, let's be honest, all creators, that's all we want, really. But if they're winning, you are also winning at home, because we are now going to do our big giveaway of the evening. We're giving away a Beacon microphone, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be in North America to win it, though. That is the only stipulation. Beacon over in North America, you've got to be in North America. If you enter it and you're not in North America, well, then you're going to have a big trouble. But everyone in chat, type the word Beacon now to be in a chance of winning this beautiful mic. Maybe you want to get into podcasting, become a content creator. It all starts with having a great microphone. This is one of the best on the market. It's got LEDs. Everything's got LEDs. Me and Nanu, we love magnets, but we also love LEDs. LEDs are great. Beacon in the chat, North America to be in a chance of winning it. A huge shout out to Beacon for sponsoring today's event. Now, Anu, we've got 2 players at a 5-0 record, and to win the big bucks, to get that tweet, you need to be 6-0, and we know exactly which 2 players are going to be there in the finals. It is going to be Cherry X-Man, it's going to be Min Wins. We've seen Cherry X-Man already today on the, what do we even call the deck? It's just Forge Combo, the Forge Combo deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mystic Forge Combo, the One Ring centered combo deck that we saw leverage, actually, funnily enough, 0 copies of the One Ring. It had the Urza Saga plus Fleshraker backup plan, I would like to call it, and we just beat down in game 3. So a lot of ways that this deck can actually sort of attack any opposing deck here, but the primary route is going to be acceleration into a fast One Ring, into untap, tap, untap, tap their One Ring using cards like Manifold Key or Voltaic Key, and then you've got some pretty new cards in the form of Vexing Bauble, although I'll say at this point, Vexing Bauble is just a legacy staple, right? A great way to battle against some of the key cards that we saw earlier today, which is Force of Will, but also even Daze, Solitude, Force of Vigor, a lot of cards here that Vexing Bauble is very good against.
And it's going to be going up against Min Win's deck, which we've seen multiple times so far today. It is Blue-Black Reanimator. We don't need to talk too much about this. I just want you to look at that sideboard quickly. 4 Consigned Memories in the sideboard, which might have a huge impact when we get into game 2 and potentially maybe game 3. Is there a clear, decisive person's got an advantage as we get down to match number 1? Or is it play draw dependent, or you just never count out this blue-black deck?
I'm going to go with the latter option here, is that blue-black can win out of nowhere. Big observation here, too, is that unlike in Tandy's deck, we are seeing 2 copies of the Metamorphosis Fanatic, which, Reed made look very good in the one feature match that Reed was in. Now, going back to this matchup in general, I feel like game 1 is going to really just be a coin toss to see who can sort of execute first. You have 2 very proactive strategies battling against each other, both with built-in protections and redundancies, whether it's in the form of Vexing Bauble or just good clean old Force of Will Daze. Post-board games are going to be something else. They're going to be a lot slower thanks to Consigned Memory, but let's see who takes down the first game and gets that first leg up.
What do you reckon some of the key cards are here for Min Win's side? My lack in knowledge, I'm thinking, the Wastelands are going to be really good in this. That's what I want to see in my opening hand. Maybe I want to see some protection, trying to stop one of those big mana rocks coming down early, then following up with a Wasteland. That might be the tempo advantage I need to pull ahead here, or is there another line that I'm not seeing?
Well, I think the critical cards here are kind of like what we all expect it to be, right? You want to have the Force, Thoughtseize, and Dazes all together, but you also want to pair that with the fast combo. What's going to be really interesting to see is what the targets are going to be for these cards. So, for example, right, do we Force a Will the One Ring, or do we try to go one step below and try to, sweep our opponent from their legs just by countering something like a Grim Monolith, right? Because there are a lot of payoff spells here in the Mystic Forge combo deck, but sometimes it's better to attack their mana instead. Those decisions are going to be critical.
Cherry X-Man, top of our screen. Mins wins bottom of our screen. Fresh off that RC win. Chat is picking up on it, and that's where you can see these beautiful trophies. Definitely to swap the picture's background again, or we're going to swap the hands around, whichever way we're going to do it. But look at this. It looks like Cherry's on a mold to 6. Looks like Mins is also taking a mulligan here. Who do you think? Does mulligans favour one player or the other, or is that just not as big a thing in Legacy as it is opposed to some of the other formats?
I think it's more so about what the decks are. So, for example, the Mystic Forge deck will require, mana and the One Ring, but then you want to combine it with the keys to sort of really have it pop off. That being said, on the other side, you really just need like a Psychic Frog and you're fine. So it's kind of tricky here. I mean, you can make the same argument from the other side, right? Like, so long as, Cherry draws the One Ring, we're okay. The issue is that one costs 2 mana and the other costs 4 mana. One deck is playing Daze, the other deck is playing Vexing Bubble. So, there's a little bit of asymmetry there, and it's just going to be a matter of making sure that things line up well for, the players that are able to pull ahead. Or that's what's going to determine who pulls ahead.
All right, well, we're off to the races. Turn 1 Urza Saga into one of the 8 keys we've got in the deck. Polluted Delta Pass on the other side. We're holding up potentially in 2, maybe a Troll Cycle, or even that Daze Brainstorm if needed. Cherry, that's a Workshop off the top. It's a pretty good one. Here comes Grim Monolith. Is this going to resolve? Is this going to be a good Daze target?
That is certainly tricky here. This is what I'm trying to say too, right? Like, if you counter this Grim Monolith, you're going to be so far behind. But if you counter this Grim Monolith, maybe you don't need to worry about like a follow-up threat coming down into play because there's just no mana. Also, with the Manifold Key literally in play, this would give Cherry access to 4 mana. Now, the funny part is that there's actually not a real payoff here. Paradox Engine is good, but it requires other stuff in play. So we'll see what happens here.
All right, well, it looks like we're going to... This to me looks like Entombed Daze is going to be happening, but let's see.
I think so too. So then let's also walk through that sequence of events, right? So we're looking to entomb into some creature, then we're going to untap, we're going to cycle the troll, get a land, replay the land that we dazed. So we won't be able to actually resolve the Metamorphosis Fanatic until 2 turns from now, but the upside here is that Cherry has no Grim Monolith. For Cherry, though, this is excellent because we have the Basalt Monolith, which is going to basically be doing the same thing.
Yeah, let's just generate enough mana. Let's just get down this Paradox Engine. Especially while the shields are down. Even if it's like something like a Resolve to track, so it's still not like the end of the world for Cherry, right? He can take a couple of hits, still wants to do his game plan.
Yeah.
Here comes Float 1 mana. Go find yourself maybe another key here. Or do you find a Bauble here? Let's find a Bauble. Okay, I like it. Tomb is what we found. He's going through the mana.
This is pretty good because now you can just for sure resolve the Basalt Monolith. Now the question is if you play the Ancient Tomb, I suppose you could also play the Paradox Engine this turn.
But the quicker we get, like, all we're really doing is nothing in that instance, right? We're just kind of setting up with no big payoff, but having the Saga come down and doing it this way, we can at least start making tokens as early as next turn.
Yes, and I think that's the critical decision maker here for Cherry, and that's the reason why we're playing the Urza Saga first, is we get just access to tokens a little bit faster. That being said, though, because we don't have a payoff, maybe Min has enough time to execute the... Oh, I am wrong.
Ooh,
I guess you get to play the Paradox Engine as well this turn.
I was thinking maybe like I would have brainstormed there and respond, but I don't know what I would have hit, let's be honest. Then we can't set up. Well, this deck is it's a lot harder to play than people like kind of give it credit for, right? Like they think, oh, it's just hit something big in the graveyard. But the way you've got sequence things you have to set up, especially when it feels like we're potentially on the back foot currently, even though that might not be exactly accurate. But we do get to reanimate this Atraxa, which is very good at getting you off the back foot, putting you on that front foot. And here she is. Lose 7 life, but gain a 7/7 flying vigilance, death touch, life linking Phyrexian General, which if you didn't find out earlier on in the broadcast, Anu does an amazing impression of her. And she also has the ETB. Look at the top 10 cards, put one of each card type into your hand. We'll find out momentarily what that is. Last time it was 5 cards. What number are you calling this time?
Well, we know there's at least the Fanatic. I'm going to say 4.
4, okay. Oh, you're so good. You're so good at this. 4 seas is going to see that there's just a tomb in hand, so can't take anything but the follow-up. We've already played our lands. The Wasteland can't come down either.
Not what you're looking for here.
Saga going to go up to 2. Sea of Traders is what we find. So we're looking at what, a 4/4 creature? Doesn't line up great against Atraxa right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, also, like, even if we drew some sort of spell, Paradox Engine only untaps non-land permanents, so there's no secret synergy here between Urza's Saga making an extra construct, for example, with the engine. Now, that being said, maybe like a turn down the line, maybe there's a way to sneak the last points of damage in using something like Manifold Key's second ability. Punch through the Atraxa.
Well, the Atraxa is still 7 life being gained. You know what I mean? This is not a race I don't think you can win, and especially not when we're just drawing lands, right?
I believe in the Paradox Engine. I think Paradox Engine is just scary enough to do what it needs to do. But you do need to pair it alongside something like the One Ring, though.
Bauble found. Untap all permanent, so we can... Yeah, just... We're setting up and we need something big. Is it Forge? Is that the card Forge, Karn?
Forge, Karn, the Ring. Yeah, we've got a decent number of them. 3 copies of the One Ring, 3 copies of Forge, 4 copies of
quite
Karn.
Good. Kozilek's Command, that we've probably got enough mana to be able to actually exile this Atraxa, right?
Yeah, probably too. Good point.
Okay.
I don't think Fleshraker is where I want to be.
No, I don't think that's. I don't think we can't outvalue outrace from that. I don't think, unless there's a combo I'm kind of missing with that. I think it needs to be one of our big card advantage engines, especially when Atraxa's resolved here. They drew an extra 4 cards off it. They're now brainstorming, going even deeper in here. They can set up again if they need to. Just keep applying big threats to the battlefield. Seems like it's just going to be good enough.
Yeah. Notably, I think the reason we cycled the Vexing Bauble is because we were probably expecting the Urza Saga to tick up to Chapter 3 and then find another Vexing Bauble, but the Wasteland is going to come down here and really just stymie that plan.
That's going to be pretty awkward. Here comes the This is actually my my art of Wastelands. When I play them, I really do like this Lord of the Rings art. In response to it being cracked, though, we will make ourselves a construct. It will be a 5/5 because there is 5 artifacts on the battlefield currently. Anything else we want to do here? Combat, go back up to 17, drop Terry down to 13, so that's a 2 turns to do it. We played our land, even though we do have reanimate in hand, but there's no good targets to reanimate.
The One Ring. I tried.
Oh no, that would have been a good one as well, though.
I tried.
I don't think you even play a tomb here, right? There's no advantage to it, or is there an advantage that playing it means that you can play another land next turn to go off? Ooh, secret mode, unblockable. Yeah. Okay,
yep. I like it. So this is what I'm saying, right? Like, when it goes down to 12, go back up to 19. There's a world where you can deal 19 points of damage. It's
if Cherry can win through combat damage through an Atraxa coming back on turn 2, I am all here for it.
You'll eat your shorts? Is that what I'm hearing? I tried.
I don't. No. We've learned our lesson on that one.
Okay.
Well, I was there. Okay, like, I felt like I was part of it. I was the hype man in that situation. For people that don't know what we're talking about, make sure you go back to the look at the clips on this the MTGO channel on here on Twitter, out on Twitch, and you'll be able to see a nice little highlight video of someone having their dinner.
You just outing me, dude.
So, someone being a new dinner being an actual pair of shorts.
Yikes.
Atraxa coming in, dropping Cherry down to 6, so does need that big top deck and needs it now. It cannot be another land. That would not be good enough. We need Ring, we need Karn, potentially a Mystic Forge. Kozilek's Command would also do it. So that's 7, 9 outer. It's not showing on the screen. It's a petal. No.
Lotus Petal.
6 is not good enough. That means Mins wins with not only the best username of the day, but also currently 1 game up, 1 game away from being today's champion and taking a nice clean 6-0 sweep. But they did just win a big tournament, the regional championships recently. We'll be seeing them at Worlds. We'll be seeing them at the Pro Tour. Will we be seeing them today lift the MTGO Creator Trophy? Cherry's going to have something to say about that. So let's have a little look at his deck list and see if it gets better for him in game number 2 and maybe even in game number 3.
Shortcut. Answer is yes. Yes, it improves because you have 4 copies of Leyline of the Void coming in, and that's the plan basically here, is just to like land this card on turn 1, not needing to worry about turn 2 Atraxa, and then just completely going over your opponent with the One Ring Paradox Engine Mystic Forge shenanigans.
We saw the contortions come in earlier against the Frog deck. Do you think Cherry's going to be bringing them back in? Or
I don't know.
Do you think he's still going to bring them in?
I like it a lot less in this specific matchup because, first of all, it only conditionally kills the frogs. But now that we have open deck lists, so we know there's no Tamiyo to kill, and then there's Metamorphosis Fanatic, which this doesn't kill. I think this time around, I probably wouldn't bring this in. Plus, like, if we bring in the 4 ley lines and some number of spatial contortions, we're really diluting the effectiveness of our deck. So I'm kind of just happy to take a gamble here, say, hey, I'm going to beat Leyline of the Void, and I'm just going to not worry about creatures and go from there.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I need to ask you, how low are you willing to go? How mulligan down to try and find a Leyline? How much is that such a deal breaker for us in this matchup? As Cherry goes down to 6 so far.
Down to 6 is I'm fine with, but the problem is if you go lower, then you run into the problem where the blue-black deck just becomes a fair deck and beats you with Thoughtseizes and Forces and Psychic Frogs, and then you're just like, well, I have my Leyline in play, but if you mulligan down to 5, you also have to factor in that you don't have the Leyline as a card, so you really only have 4 cards then, and this deck it needs card quantity quite a lot, because that's how you add up your mana and everything together. So I don't know. I think I would personally just stay at 6, and then if I find another one, if I find it, cool. If I don't, I'm not gonna go to 5 for it.
Looks like Cherry agrees with you, just really tanking on which card to put back here. Could be the second Grim Monolith, might be the Petal, but then if we keep the Petal, that means we can play the Vexing Bauble out first, and then make sure that the Grim Monolith resolves, but chose to put that one back. It's going to be interesting how he wants to sequence all this.
I would just gem the Grim Monolith here. No questions asked. You force it, I have another one. Nice try.
We're going to deploy everything here. Bam, tap, 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 bam, and go. But then is a 2-2 good enough to beat these powerful reanimated decks when we have got 0 hate going on? You have Brainstorm, do have Brazen Burrow, did just draw a Psychic Frog. Also Wasteland, notable land in hand, and that is what we're going to start off with. As far off that city. Cherry big brained it though by keeping the other one in hand. Draws a Karn.
Okay, that's a good start. That's a good start.
Gets to get the beats in.
Boom. This is such a crazy board to me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 permanents on one side, but 0 on the other.
It literally looks like you've done nothing. You've basically played a draft unplayable common right now.
Yeah, but that's the problem. You had 5 permanents in play, but like your board is not even that good.
Ring, drawn for the turn. We really need to try and find ourselves one of our 8 key effects. Another land that taps for 2 would also go down really well here. At the minute, not much is happening on the other side. Brainstorm, that's going to find ourselves a couple of lands, so we can guarantee hitting our land drops every turn. And are we just Psychic Frog in here? I don't think there's anything we want to bounce to the Bloomburrow, is there? Or is there?
Maybe you bounce the Glaring Fleshraker. He said, unsure. But yeah, Psychic Frog is reliable.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a Psychic Frog, right? Here comes... That means that we really need land. That one-off Wasteland is doing so much work right now. Giving Wins enough time to kind of start stabilizing and maybe potentially pull ahead in this matchup. Starting off with a Ponder.
Even now, something like a Thoughtseize will be a good draw here to find off the Ponder.
Thoughtseize, Entomb would be a great draw as well. Don't have any counter magic yet, though. That is one thing I suppose we're one weakness we've got right now.
Kind of strange, though, but I feel like the counter magic wouldn't even be that good.
Entomb was found. Swamp for the turn. Entomb. Go pit a creature from our deck into our graveyard. That creature is going to be a Archon. Archon's going to ETB. That means you're going to sacrifice a creature, discard a land, take 3 points of damage. I'm going to draw a card. I'm going to gain 3 life. And I get to connect with this Psychic Frog, which is going to get me another card deeper, finding me a Force Negation. So now I've got some protection going up. I don't like to call games too early, New, but I feel like not only is Wins going to win a RC, they're also going to be this month's Showdown champion.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see right now if we're able to draw exactly a soul land. Oh, cracking the Vexing Bauble. No.
Founds the Forge. Doesn't do anything on this board state. Petal. That's 3 mana. That's still not enough. We can play it now. The Vexing Bauble's gone.
Yeah,
and no, scooping it up. Cherry says, I am too far ahead. You can just ditch your hands. Plus the Archon. That's going to be lethal. So, not only we got an RC winner, Nimin is going to win this month's Creator Showdown. So, huge shout out to them. Congratulations. Anu, I think Blue-Black Reanimate is pretty good in this this format.
I would agree. I think that deck is powerful. It's resilient, and it's gonna leave its mark at Eternal Weekend for sure.
Oh yeah, if I was going, I think that's just the deck I would end up picking up. It's just a lot of stuff that I want to do, and because Infect's unplayable. But it's going to be that time, Ash. Go time. I want to know what's your favorite play of the tournament so far? Like we've had 6 rounds. We've now got a champion. We've seen a lot of different decks in the feature match. We've seen some more than others. But what do you think was the play of the tournament? What was like that? Whoa, that just happened.
Well, okay, despite it being at the hands of Blue-Black Reanimator, I think for me, the most iconic was the epic comeback that Reed was able to just, like, he got hit by Frog 4 times, and despite that, still won that game. Set things up very well, said, hey, this is the path that I need to take, and then proceeded to take that path, set himself up for a very good top deck, was rewarded for that, and then just, won very handily against the Blue-Black tempo side. So that I think that's, rarely do you get to see that kind of setup and the payoff. I'm happy that we got to.
It was massively played, the whole thing. That was against Control Freak, and that was how we started off today. But we ended with a winner on the same deck. It is Mins Wins. It's just raided the channel, so shout out to you, my friend. Congratulations. This is the final standings and the prize money. So one last time, Anu, what is everybody walking away with?
Yep. So for anybody with that 4-2 record, they will finish with 500 play points, the treasure chests, and the full digital set. But at 5-1 or better, you have $600. Our runner-up, Cherry X-Man, with $750, and our champion for this month, Min Wins, 6-0, wins the first place prize of $1,250. Congratulations, Min. You earned it. Well played.
Look, if you've got wins in your name, you can't lose. Like that.
Actually, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, we have this little rigged thing going on, but that's generally how this works. So, again, just huge shout on an absolute tear in Magic at the minute. 2 different formats, champions in both. You can't write a better script, so congratulations to them. As we're going to head back to the booth and start closing down the show. Anu, like you know how much I love you, my friend. We do a lot together. We spoke a lot. We actually got some photos together now at last from Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Have you enjoyed this month's format, this month's tournament? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Because I know it's only going to get a little bit better for you tomorrow.
Yeah, the answer is a resounding yes. At any point there is time or ability to create legacy content, be a part of legacy content, count me in. I'm in. I don't know, and also getting to watch some of like the coolest, best players battle. Like these are all creators that we're fond and familiar with, and so seeing their successes is something that we're all very happy about, especially when it's in legacy.
Exactly, man. I would not rather do this with anybody but you. You were amazing. This format is awesome. And what else is awesome is the giveaway, courtesy of our sponsor today, Beacon. Let's get that slide up one more time as we are going to pick a winner of this microphone. This is your last chance to enter. You need to type the word Beacon in the chat and be North America to win it. If you win this and you're not in North America, then unfortunately you just can't have it. That's the rules. So if you are North America, you need to type the word Beacon. If you want to start a podcast, start content creating, a microphone is key, and this is one of the best out there. It's got AI technology in there. It's got all these LED lights, and everyone knows LED lights makes everything better. So, Anu, for the final time today, I need you to tell me in a how Jack Rabbit sound voice to pick a winner.
So actually, I Jack Rabbit was in one of the 4-0 prelim dumps for the legacy qualification for tomorrow's event. I saw it and I was just like, my jaw hit the floor. But if I had to imagine what Jack Rabbit sounds like,
just say, tell me when. I've got the button ready to go. Winner of this is winning the microphone.
I'd imagine that he has a really low voice like this and just speaks perfect English.
Boom, winner. If that is you in chat, congratulations, you've just won this Beacon microphone. Please reach out to me, either whisper me on Twitch or then get involved in Twitter. However you want to get hold of me, and I'll make sure that your details are taken and passed to the correct people. So congratulations to you. As we now close down the show, we've got to say our thank yous to, of course, our sponsors of today, Daybreak Games. Putting on this show, working with creators, giving you at home all these tournaments that you love to battle it out in, from ANZs to the challenges to just the prelims. They do everything that we want, and they do it perfectly. They even listen to us. That's the best bit. They listen to us, take our advice, take our feedback. They fixed Wall of Roots. You're welcome, chat. You're welcome. They fixed Wall of Roots for us Yawgmoth players out there. They do everything. So a huge shout out to them. We literally could not do this without them. Speaking of people we can't do this without, well, it's Monkey Bubble. They're doing all the production right now. They're pressing the buttons, doing the slides. Got this nice funky graphic working behind me in Anu right now that's made us look great all day. So thank you to them, and a huge shout out. Go follow them on all the socials. And of course, Beacon. They're the big sponsors today. They're the ones giving away the microphone, giving us the opportunity to give cool things back to all you at home. So huge shout out to them. There isn't a showdown in December. We're going to come back in the new year. So on that one, from me, from the team, from Anu, we want to wish you a happy Christmas. Have a great new year. I'm going to kick off next year nice and fresh back here on this channel. So if you haven't hit the follows on all them, make sure you do it right now. And the final word is coming from you, Anu. Take it away.
Yeah. More legacy. Let's go. See y'all at Eternal Weekend.
Bye.